Time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy, Alex, and Jason are all here. We will talk about the succession plans for Tim Cook. The stock market's howling for his head. I don't know. Should we get rid of Tim Cook? I don't think so. But if we did, who'd replace him? Jeff Williams is on his way out, retiring to spend more time with his money. Apple, speaking of money, offering a lot of it to stream F1. But will Liberty Media bite? And the new folding phone, now with no creases. All that and more coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 981, recorded Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. It's thicker where it counts. It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Hello, everybody. It's time to talk about Apple with the best darn Vision Pro podcast in the world. Jason Snell, he owns a Vision Pro. How about that? Sixcolors.com. He's now fully decked out on his new set.
Myself. Still not done, but working on it.
The no sign, what is it? No what? No fishing, no smoking?
It says sorry no, and my parents for a few years ran a bed and breakfast, and that was, they would have me run down and place that on the sign that said vacancy.
Ah, brilliant.
So I would run down there, put the sign out, and put the sorry no out, and so
I love that
the sorry, and I managed to save the sorry no. So I
might have to get that sign for Elisa.
Sorry, no.
She used to have on her whiteboard behind her, "No" is a complete sentence as a warning to employees. That's Andy Anako, who is employed by none, but is cool as all get out, dressed in black.
I treated myself to a pair of Meta Ray-Bans. Do you know that you can buy them without the cameras?
Oh,
wow. So you don't have any privacy problems.
That's
cheaper.
You have to send it to a guy to pull them out, and they put these like little things in them instead. But otherwise, they look like real Ray-Bans.
That's more expensive than one with the camera in it. Good to see you. I have no idea how to spell Anako, but we fortunately have many acronyms for that. I have no tomato, ketchup, onions, I think was the title of last week's show.
Clearly, you've not seen me at In-N-Out.
Also, on location in beautiful South Carolina, Mr. Alex Lindsay. Hi, Alex.
It's good to be here. Good
to see you.
It's very humid here. I'm not used to so much humidity.
Are you on assignment?
It's actually very nice where I'm at right now in the studio. Yeah, I'm on vacation. I'm actually staying in North Carolina on the beach, but I came down to Charleston to Sage Studios, and they do a lot of virtual
I see. You're
events.
On vacation.
I'm on vacation, but I saw it as an opportunity to come down. We're gonna a couple of us from office hours are gonna hang out this evening and have dinner, and so it seemed like a good thing to do.
Is this a normal spot for your vacation in South Carolina?
Charleston, I'm visiting. Normally we go to Hatteras. This time we went to Holden Beach. So the picture you see behind me is from the back of the house in Holden Beach.
You're kidding. And that's out your door? Oh,
that's
man.
That's out the back of and there's like little kayaks. People are like kayaking down the little channels and everything else back there. So it's a fun place.
Our top story today, there's actually a lot of rumors about iPhone 17 and so forth. We'll get to those in just a little bit. But I think the story I paid attention to comes from the Sun Valley conference, the Allen & Co. conference in Sun Valley, where the CEO of Liberty Media, Jarek Chang, took meetings with Tim Cook, Eddie Q, as well as Bob Iger from Disney, to ask, how much would you pay? I'm sorry, what's your vision for Formula One in the United States? ESPN has the rights right now to rebroadcast Formula One races in the U.S. They paid $85 million for it. Apparently, according to Puck, which is, Dylan Byers is wired in. He's actually in Sun Valley. Cook and Q, which is, by the way, I like that. I'm going to call him Cook and Q from now on.
Favorite comedy duo, 1982, yes. BBC One, their show, only six series, but
so funny. Offered Chang $150 million, almost twice what ESPN was paying, The lower end of the 150 to 200 million range that was rumored still puts them in the front row, as it were, pole position to acquire F1. Now it's possible that Disney will offer more, but it seems unlikely.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to offer more. What's it going to come down to is, do they want the money or do they want the exposure? Because they'll get way more exposure on ESPN. And as we all know, if you're not on ESPN, you don't exist in terms of
sports.
Their coverage of sports, which makes it harder visibility-wise. If you disappear from their networks, they don't talk about you either, and that's bad. And that means reach on ABC and and broadcast, as well as on ESPN's new service that they're launching. And it's this is the same thing as the discussion with MLS, which is like, it's a good deal. And the coverage is good, but a lot of people don't have Apple TV Plus, and so they're not going to see it. And that's the what they have to weigh is take more money and have less visibility. The complication here, which is super weird, is you can already buy a subscription to watch Formula One,
which
over
I
the
do.
top,
Yeah,
right?
F1 TV.
So why would they do another I don't understand why they would take the Apple deal unless they are, for whatever reason, desperate for money, or think that this is potentially like a way to try out the Apple relationship before the international rights come up in 2030 and see if Apple would be a great long-term partner for F1 as a sport. But like, otherwise, why would you not take less money, other than the fact, do you need that extra 70 million instead of the exposure of being a partner of ESPN and ABC? It's an interesting decision they're going to have to make, because I don't think ESPN has any interest in paying more. They consider that an overpay, and Apple's happy to overpay to get their good friends at F1 on their service.
Should mention that ESPN is Disney, right? That they own ESPN.
ESPN, ABC, Disney, all the same thing.
Well, now, I think this is what Byers says. He says it's the MLS cautionary tale. Apple gave Major League Soccer $250 million a year, and then more money for Messi, et cetera, but MLS has kind of disappeared, except for if you're on Apple TV, where it's all over the place. So Liberty Media is John Malone. I mean, Liberty Media is savvy.
I would say it's different than MLS, because I don't think MLS was that front row before, so Apple, brought
they're not exactly Premier League or something.
And so it wasn't like they had a lot of exposure. F1 has a lot more exposure. I do think the movie probably had something to do with, like, Apple trying to show them, like, this is what we can bring to bear. We can get a whole lot of people that hadn't been thinking about F1. Yeah. And I think that's Apple has a lot more dimensionality that they could potentially add. Will they add it? I don't know. I don't know if they'll do it, but they have the potential to add a lot more dimensions to how F1 is covered than a simple cable network.
Well, Byers points out, for instance, the experimental trailer that Apple released on the iPhone had haptics.
Yeah. Also, ESPN, ESPN just runs the Sky, which is basically the F1 English feed, whereas the F1 streaming service has their own announcers. I would imagine that Apple would probably want to actually do this up and get their own broadcast, at least announcers, and potentially have a bunch of tech add-ons as well, right? To make it their equivalent of the, push the red button for Sky, which you can see on ESPN, but there's no red button to push, which apparently F1 fans don't like. So there's a lot that they could do, and that's what I think it's going to come down to.
That's why I
it's as much having Apple as a partner than it is about anything else, because Apple doesn't really want US rights to anything. If they want global rights. MLS is a global rights deal. Apple is thinking globally. So why would you get the US rights? Well, to try it out. Yeah. Because there will be a time when Apple could theoretically buy global F1 rights. And does F1 want to do that? Well, this would be a way for Apple to sort of prove its mettle.
Yeah, and I think that also there isn't, like, when you're making these deals, looking at the fact that there is an executive at EQ who is super excited about the product.
He's on Ferrari's board.
I think that makes also a difference in how you look at it, because you're like, it's not just another business deal. It's somebody who really wants to, someone who has the ability to make decisions that are available to really push things forward. And again, Apple has a lot of potential for lots of different kinds of promotions across the products. They've not done as much with MLS as I thought they would, but they could do a lot more.
Yeah, it's interesting because ESPN, even though they're offering significantly less, is still at the table, which shows you that Malone and Chang are thinking, do we really want all this money from Apple? What is Apple going to offer us?
The problem is when you look at cable, I mean, now, admittedly, except for sports, but when you look at the rest of the cable network, but when you look at the rest of the cable ecosystem, I mean, most of that is, as a macro level, burning up in the atmosphere. So you're kind of like, that's not the, cable TV. And now ESPN may last longer. The sports brands tend to last a little longer in this environment, but for the most part, everyone's trying to divest from cable TV. So
ESPN
but not Disney, because they're launching ESPN as a streaming service as well,
right.
and
they're
it's
finally
and
doing
it's,
that. Yeah,
it's probably a different kind of scenario. I'm sure F1 would love to be talking to other streamers as well, but they're not interested in this.
Netflix
too much money.
Would be a natural. Netflix has the money, and they created Drive to Survive, which I think single-handedly made F1 popular in the U.S.
Yeah, and I think Netflix probably doesn't think that the U.S. only rights are worth it for them, which is why I come back to, why is Apple talking to them other than their F1 film relationship? And it's got to be sort of like, if they do this deal, I just feel like it's let's do this for the next 5 years and see what happens, and are we a long-term partner for them or not, more than anything else.
Because even with the bulk of the size of this deal, the U.S. market is still a relatively small market for F1. I mean, it's a market they want to grow.
The time of the races, in many cases, is the middle of the night. It's not a good live sport for the U.S.
Yeah, so it's not. There's as Jason pointed out, there's less at stake. This would be a perfect proving ground for Apple, as opposed to like giving them the golden goose.
Yeah. Yeah, Apple must be saying to them something more long term than just.
When they start designing cameras for them, I mean, they design cameras for the movie. So when they start going, hey, we have a lot of camera technology. It's not just you figuring out how to put cool cameras into your. Imagine what we could do with designing and building new kinds of ways of covering the sport. That potentially could come with it, and for Apple, that'd be good on many levels.
Liberty owns F1 TV, and they own the streaming service, which I think if you're a hardcore F1 fan, you probably pay. It's not expensive. Pay it. I do every year because it gives you not only a choice between Crofty promoting Sky with a red button, and their own announcers who are far better, but you also get all the camera angles. You get all the radio. Every driver camera, you get a whole lot more. In fact, we've talked about this before. It would be an amazing Vision Pro app.
Yeah, remember that's some independent people just basically built it on their own,
right? And
it's mysteriously disappeared, which either means that they got lawyered up, they got lawyered at, or someone said, "Hi, come work for us, F1, and make this into a real thing because we like the cut of your jib."
I think the fact that Apple can basically offer infinite amount of money for live sports in the long run must scare ESPN just a little bit.
And in addition, they're not. They don't. It's not that they don't care about ratings, but ratings are down on the list. They will buy sports. They will buy shows for prestige and for subscriptions. They don't necessarily. You don't have to deliver an audience year after year after year.
Yeah. Well, that's the one story that's not a rumor. Now, let's go to the Gurman. Tim Cook isn't going anywhere soon, says Mark. And I have to sign in every time. I have to sign into darn Bloomberg. It's a lot of money for that darn Bloomberg.
I know, and they're so annoying. And then they sell your email address to spammers.
Do they? Oh,
yeah. I get lots of really random marketing email that's to my Bloomberg.
You don't get enough money
account
from me?
Email. There's never enough money. I think that's the lesson of Bloomberg.
It's a lesson of
always more monetization
capitalism.
of your subscribers.
Tim Cook isn't going anywhere soon, Mark says, but an Apple shakeup looms. Really, the big story of the week, which I should have probably moved up, is that Apple's going to lose their COO at the end of the year. Everybody thought that perhaps Jeff Williams would be the next CEO. No, he's retiring later this year. There's no signs internally, says Gurman, that Cook is getting ready to leave, but Cook's going to turn 65 this year. He's retirement age. So there's a question. Mark obviously didn't have enough to write about. So there's a question about executive succession. He calls it the Tim steps off the curb at the wrong moment. Who would run Apple if Jeff Williams is retiring?
Well, and Jeff Williams, though, is only 3 years younger than Tim Cook. So if you're doing succession, it may not make as much sense. I mean, I think you're probably looking for someone in there.
Is it Eddie Q?
Yeah, I mean, do you want an operations guy as the next CEO, given that the last CEO was an operations guy? I think maybe you want a product guy, product person in that role.
Right. There are a lot of retirements ahead. Gurman says that, Lisa Jackson's going to retire. Obviously, Luca Maestri just, kind of somewhat stepped down.
Yeah,
Dan
semi-retired.
Riccio, semi-retired. Dan Riccio left at the end of last year. There's a lot of turnover. He says half of Cook's 20 direct reports are at least 60, including Jaws, Phil Schiller, Lisa Jackson, and Johnny Cerrucci. And besides, they have unlimited funds at this point.
They do. They're all hundreds of millions.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
they don't have to work.
I think that I bet that Cook wants to see the transition to the headset through. Like, I think he's in the middle of that, or not. Jason's like, or he wants to jump off the ship before.
I don't know. That seems far. That seems kind of far out.
I don't know.
10 years.
All the way there.
I don't think it's 10 years away. I think we'll see a lot more of it in the next 5 or 6 years. But I think that I would be very surprised if Cook left in the next 5 years, and potentially in the next. I think I would only give it maybe 20 or 30% that he'd leave in the next 10 years. I mean, I don't think that he has.
Yeah.
I think he's doing this because he loves to do it. He obviously doesn't need the money.
I feel like he leaves Apple feet first, and also he's not necessarily. Things would have to. Apple's already lost $600 billion in valuation recently, and the board is still not interested in replacing him. The shareholders, by and large, are not interested in replacing him. There are a lot of reports this week from various sources about different analysts and different newsletters saying, hey, it's time for a regime change at Apple if he can't turn things around with AI. But that's really not in the cards. It's his job for as long as he wants it, because he's really good at everything that's Apple.
Yeah, that's what Gurman says, is the board, might think they want a product guy in there, but they're so happy with the stock price, the valuation of the company under Cook's tenure, that he is solid.
Yeah, I mean, from start to finish. Again, $600 billion in valuation going away is not a great thing, but you think about what
it's not been a good year for Apple, has it?
No, but the thing is, think about where Apple was when he took over, and it's not an accident that the valuations they're now a $3 trillion company.
It's also
Almost
been a pretty crazy year. I mean, the fact that he's gotten through so much of it with so little scathing. It's not like unprecedented macroeconomic headwinds. It's screw ups and miscalculations that if Tim had been on less sound footing in his job, he might have been bounced after the second problem. After canceling the car, after the Vision Pro turned out to be a lot of money thrown away on what is just a very preliminary experimental product, anybody who was not secure in his job would have been invited to spend more time with your plants and your dogs and your basketball games. But the fact that he survived the fumble with AI, which is worse than anything else that's happened during his tenure, probably.
There are shakeups going on right now. For instance, Apple's broken up the Vision Pro team. It's moved the pieces from Gurman, moved the pieces into its software and hardware departments, relocated engineering for Siri and the robotics teams. Now they've got to figure out who's going to take over for Jeff Williams, the COO. He says this is, and I presume he's got sources inside, the plan. Apple's already said its design team will report directly to Cook, It was reporting to Williams, right?
So I think they already named a CEO.
They've got a new COO.
Yep.
What they need to do is find a place for the other jobs that weren't COO that Jeff Williams was also
he was doing everything. Yeah,
and the thought there is design's a can of worms, right? But the can of worms is reporting to Tim Cook. But the other stuff, like where
which
does Apple Watch and Health go?
A few years ago.
They did that before, right? And where does Apple Watch and Health go? Well, Apple Watch is going to do what Vision Pro did, which is they're going to put the hardware on the hardware side and the software on the software side, and it's just going to be like every other Apple product. It's going to be part of the mix. And Health is an interesting one.
Turnus has Watch and Health. The Watch OS team, run by Dave Clark and its health engineering group, led by Evan Dahl, will move to software engineering head Craig Federighi's organization. The current unfinalized plan is for the health product team, led by Dr. Desai, to shift under Craig Federighi's oversight.
Interesting.
So there's quite a bit of reorg going on, right?
Yeah.
This new COO will get the Apple Care team, according to what Gurman's hearing. Fitness Plus will move to the services group, which was under Jay Blahnik.
Yeah. Apple Care, it's interesting. Apple Care is actually a service, but I get it. Like it's a different kind of, there's kind of, it's technically a service, financially a service, but in the end, probably doesn't make as much sense under Eddie Q as it does. And some of this is like there's some stuff that just doesn't fit really well, and that's why Jeff Williams was in charge of some stuff,
right? That
was not COO stuff. It's because they're like, who's going to take this? And Jeff Williams either was told or put his hand up and said, "All right, I'll do." He probably like fitness and watch. Yeah, I'm into that. I'll talk about that. I'll handle that part of it.
I'm pretty
but
fit.
Now,
but
now he's leaving, and the COO job, COO job doesn't come with those. So they got to find new places for those.
It feels like his leaving is a bit of a surprise. Is that not the case?
I don't think so. I mean, because he's got to have been part of succession planning. Look, there's two good theories here. One is that he was told that he was no longer part of succession planning. I think that's possible, but I think it's more likely that he looked at what he wants to do next in his life. And if you look at the text of the announcement, it's really interesting, right? Because Phil Schiller became a fellow. Luca Maestri sort of stepped to the side, but kept some rules. Jeff Williams they use the word retire. Like he's going to retire. He's not going to be endlessly working at Apple, which good for him to spend time with his family. And he doesn't need to work. None of these guys who are in their 60s and have made hundreds of millions of dollars at Apple need to work, but they, need to, but they want to. So they stay. But, as a result, we're in an interesting position where you've got, you have to figure out how to take those people and use them and find a succession plan without the guy. My theory, to get back to the second point, my theory is he looked at the future and what he wants to do in terms of retirement and said, this is just a theory, but just a guess, and said, I don't want to be part of the succession planning anymore, because I think being part of the, in case of an emergency with Tim Cook, you're the CEO plan is some acceptance that you're going to be riding the CEO roller coaster for a few years. And if you're Jeff Williams and you're like, I think I want to retire soon, succession planning needs to get out, right? Like you're like, I'll be the COO for another year or two, but I'm not going to be the emergency CEO for 5 years. It's not going to happen. And when that happens, I think is when this happens. It's the step off because you're not willing to be here until you're 70.
And I think that if I don't think that Apple will promote someone from the outside, whenever there's a succession. So I think it puts Federighi and Turnus in the front row. Like I think
that's the problem.
They're in their 50s.
They're not the kind of company that goes outside.
Never.
But if you look at the public face and who's in the keynotes and everything else, I think it's those two become the primary. Those are probably the two most likely at this point.
Yeah. This the Apple press release is interesting because it says that the transition from Jeff Williams to Saba Khan is a long planned succession.
Yeah.
So
Saba Khan's been there forever, right? Like he's a lifer. He's an Apple lifer.
Yeah.
He's been there since I think 95. So this is not, in many ways, you're just kind of, and this is actually one of the issues right now, is Apple have a lot of people that have been at Apple since the 90s or early 2000s. They've all got a lot of money in stock options over the years. They're all sort of around 60, a little older, a little younger. And this is a challenge. Again, look, I'm in my mid 50s. I'm not being ageist when I say the problem is eventually you can't stay forever, right? Like that's just a
and I'll tell you from the
truth of humanity.
The other side of that birthday, that is when you start thinking, okay, I'm on the downhill slope now. What do I want the rest of my life to be like? And if you've got hundreds of millions of dollars,
you don't have to work.
I do think that
you don't become a senior vice president at Apple or a CEO without being basically a type A personality workaholic person. And so they probably so again, credit to Jeff Williams for actually saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. I don't need to do this anymore. But it's going to become an issue sooner or later. And this is probably... I think Kerman is right. It feels like this is a moment, not like where there's a calamity. Apple is doing so well that they haven't had that calamity that causes a lot of stuff to break and then people to leave. And Apple is such a unique company that they just stay forever, right? And so you end up in this position where they now have to start thinking like, okay, but what happens in 5 years when, or 8 years when all those people who are now sort of like 60 are all now headed towards 70? Like you do need another generation to step up to do this stuff and to be the face of the company and to do succession planning. Honestly, even if Tim Cook wanted to stay until he was 75, which, he could, he seems very fit. You still want clear people who are ready to take over, and probably you want to see some sort of a gradual transferring. That's the thing about like what Phil Schiller did is Phil Schiller is still at Apple and he does events and he does App Store. He's just not doing the job that Jaws is doing now, and that's like Apple retirement. Right, which is like now I'm only in charge of 2 huge things of this giant company instead of 5. But you do need to see more of that. You need to see John Turnus step up. Yeah. You need to see more of Mike Rockwell and other people who are like below and are coming up now. You got to see those people now.
But I think when you start looking at that short list, you're looking at someone who's been at Apple for more than 20 years. That's less than 60.
For sure. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And there are not that many because people are saying, oh, well, maybe there could be an acquisition and all that. It's like, look, I know. And somebody was like, oh, well, but the board is the one who will decide who the new CEO is. And I was like, yeah, but the board and Tim Cook agree on everything. And I really just can't imagine Tim Cook will not be the executive chairman after he's the CEO. I feel like he's going to do the same thing that they did to Steve Jobs right before Steve Jobs died. He was made the chairman of the board. And they're going to pick from within Apple, unless there is a catastrophe that kills Apple's business, they will pick somebody from within Apple. There are too many examples, and we've talked about them here, too many examples where they have brought somebody in from the outside, and it has either gone completely terribly or after a few years, they just leave. And so you can go from John Browett, who was brought in to do the store, and that was a calamity, and he was gone within a few months. Or it's Angela Ahrendts, who came in from Burberry, and it was okay, but after a few years, she just left. And or you can talk honestly about John Giannandrea, who, by all visible evidence, hasn't really worked out as the machine learning chief. So it's got to be somebody from within Apple, and they've got to be training those people up.
Does Apple need as many analysts? Apparently the stock market is not happy with Tim Cook, which just like, come on, guys. Are you that short-term focused? Oh my God. 2 quarters.
They really are. That's the way they think. Yeah.
They don't have an AI story, and that's the story of 2025. So, of course, Meta and Microsoft are doing better than Apple is in 2025. But gosh, the track record's pretty good. I wouldn't sell my Apple stock.
Absolutely. Most of the analysts that I was, after seeing a couple of these like really, really alarming reports of leading analyst says CEO must step down or Apple is in big trouble. There are some influential analysts. However, the majority of the reaction to that has been, no, Apple would be nuts to make a big CEO change. It's still a good stock. It's still working great. They've got problems, but the chaos of a regime change would hurt the company a lot more than just sticking around and trying to work things out.
Lightshed, which is an analytic firm, said, quote, Apple needs a product-focused CEO, not one centered on logistics.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of. I'll just tell you, financial analysts
Logistics is
aren't.
not turning into a problem in 2025.
Financial analysts
No,
are
not at all.
not smarter than the rest of us, honestly. And like, I look at some of these analysts,
And they
and I
may
think
not
they
be
don't
as smart as the
understand
rest of us.
Apple's business as much as we do here,
Yeah.
honestly, and they don't really get it. I will say one of Tim Cook's great advantages is I think there's a general perception. I think it's true, but I think there is a general perception that if you mess with Apple's culture a little too much, you will kill the goose that laid the golden
Yeah.
eggs. I think that is true. That like we've seen too many examples of people coming in from the outside. And yeah, somebody in the Discord was saying John Scully. It's like, yeah, I mean, okay, like there are a lot, but like even recently, like Apple is legitimately unlike any other company in the world, and it has used that to become one of the biggest and most valuable companies in the world. And I think it is a legitimate argument to say if you brought somebody in from the outside to optimize Apple, all you would do is destroy it. So there we are.
Yeah. It means it's a tough problem that they've
Which
got to
is
face.
not to say that putting someone in the C-suite that's a couple of generations younger than the current crew wouldn't be a good move. There are times where you really do feel as though Apple is making some very, very smart choices, but based on a hard established view of the world that has changed a lot in the last 20 or 30 years. I'm not sure that if you had someone in their early 40s taking charge of the App Store, I'm not sure that Apple would still be taking these hardline stances about keeping developers under their thumb and bucking every single attempt to limit or control what they want to do. I think that we would see we would see some at least some conversations about adding features for developers who are selling through the App Store that they've been asking for years and years and years that they're used to getting on pretty much every other platform. That's just an example of younger people who grew up with app stores, not understanding why we have this regime that seems to think that every AppleSoft disk sold on a floppy is stealing from Apple's revenues.
Well, that goes to the fear. The goose that laid the golden eggs, I mean, in some ways is Steve Jobs. And that's part of the fear, I think, that causes a lot of these cultural problems at Apple is, this is the way Steve did it. Let's just kind of keep doing it that way. And again, not saying it's not the fact that those executives are in their 60s. It's the fact that they're all in their 60s and they've all been there for 25 years. Well, and I wonder if like there are lots of executives down below that have different, newer perspectives. It's just like at some point it does feel, and we talked about this with some of the legal stuff in the U.S. and in the EU, that it feels a little bit like the people at the top, even when told don't do this, are just like, no, we're going to do this because they have always succeeded. They have all the money. They have all the power.
Yeah.
Well, and I think not just their age, but they were all here in 1997.
That's a huge part of it. Yes,
and it is I think it permeates their view of the world. Of
shelter dogs.
They don't take any amount of revenue for granted, and they don't want to just lean on their hardware. Like they don't like the hardware. Like they letting go of they almost let go of software in 1997 when Steve was coming back in. Of allowing it to be, allowing a lot of people to make the hardware. And that almost was a disaster. I mean, that was almost the end, and I think that there's definitely a certain level of paranoia that's driven Apple forward. But I think that they definitely view the world as, they're looking at it like, China is very unstable and they may have to survive on their services for some period of time somewhere in the future. And that's why they don't want to give it up, is because it could potentially be suddenly, unexpectedly, a huge chunk. I mean, it's one thing for us to talk about tariffs. It's another thing of like, what does Apple do if China invades Taiwan? Like that and that's becoming, as we get closer to 2027, 2028, a more real problem. And they have to, and China's now making it hard for them to get out of the country. There's a lot of things where they have to figure it out, and I think that that's why it's so important for Tim Cook to be there, is because the next 5 years is logistics.
I can understand though why
it's logistics.
the market and analysts might say, well, there was the Apple car, and then there was a Vision Pro, and now there's AI. Tim's stumbling. He's lost a step. Apple is at risk of becoming irrelevant in the next 5 years. I can understand why they might say that.
Yeah.
If you had no memory of history, if you had no track record, you might say this is not going well.
I think that the being irrelevant, I think that definitely having to figure out what they have to do next. But we talked about like Microsoft got quote unquote kind of like hammered and almost broken up or whatever, 20 years ago, and now they're one of the largest companies in the world. So
they pivoted though. They got rid of Steve Ballmer, who actually did a very good job. He was the Tim Cook of Microsoft.
Right.
The stock was stagnant, but he made them a very successful company. But they got rid of him, and they brought in this new guy, Satya Nadella, who's done very, very well.
And that may happen, but this isn't the time that you would make such a radical change in what they're doing. The other thing is that I do think that there is and I don't know what percentage of Apple users are like all in, but whatever that number is, the chances of them going anywhere is so low.
They're pretty locked in.
Well, it's just because everything gets easier. Like if you're like I live mostly. I mean, I've got PCs that are on the peripheral of things, but I don't really they're not part of my core operating process. And so as a result, I own 650 movies on Apple TV. I have all this other stuff, and so everything becomes easy, and everything becomes
lock in.
And it's not just lock in. It's just everything's easy. Like it's fun and it just works, and you're throwing things from one device to another and everything. And the idea of going outside of that to a less efficient, because I think that especially the folks that use almost all Apple products, I think are very much, it's not that they're that geeky. They actually just don't want to spend time thinking about it. They don't I don't for the basic operation of my day-to-day life, I don't want to figure it out. I just went to work, because I'm doing other things. I have other things that I'm working on, and fiddling with my computer to try to figure out why this isn't talking to that is not one of the things that I want to spend time on unless it's something that's cutting edge. But on a day-to-day, how do I get notes from one place to another? I don't want to think about it. I don't want to calculate it. And I think that I don't know whether it's a half or 60% or 70% of Apple users are like that, but there's some pretty big percentage, and I think that's bedrock for Apple. That keeps them from becoming irrelevant anytime soon, because there's just a lot of people that don't have any interest in other platforms. And there's definitely a group that are using a little bit of everything and it doesn't really matter to them.
And does it matter if Apple innovates? Does Apple have to innovate? Do they have to come up with something new?
I think they have to innovate. I think that they just have to stay on the ball. For most of their users, I think they have to stay in the ballpark of where things are. But I also still think that the book hasn't been completed on AI yet, and I think a lot of what Apple's doing long term, I think, makes a ton of sense. I think short term they made a lot of mistakes, and the biggest mistake in my opinion is still that they just announced more than they could do. But I think that long term, on device, when you own the operating system and the hardware and the chips and everything else, and then you're building on device AI, and then delivering that back to your developers. That over time is a lethal concoction. It's just that it's not cooked yet.
Yeah.
And Andy and Alex have both talked about this. The fact we wring our hands about AI a lot, but you can do a lot of AI stuff on Apple's platforms, right? It's just the stuff that's baked in from the OS, and that insulates them to a certain degree. And they could, if they wanted to do more third-party app integration, make it even easier to have that stuff in there, even though the Apple didn't bake it, and that gives them an enormous advantage. Leo, to your point about do they need to innovate? Well, they do, but they don't need to innovate in, I think, a lot of ways that the analysts and other people sometimes say, right? Which is that classic, going back to the Apple Watch, where people are like, if it's not the next iPhone, it's a failure. And I think the truth is there is no next iPhone on the horizon, and the iPhone is going to be an annuity that pays off for Apple for a very long time. But what they do have to do is keep their head on a swivel, not get complacent, make sure that the iPhone continues to be good, and look for whatever might replace the iPhone, which is why they're spending money on vision products. It's why they spent money on the car. There are reasons that they throw money at things, because their biggest existential threat is that they'll be like Microsoft missing mobile, right? That they will miss the moment for a fundamental platform that they can't get back into. And I don't think AI is necessarily that, because you can do good AI stuff on Apple's products and integrate it pretty well. It's a threat, but I'm not sure it's quite as existential as that. I think the stuff you could wear, wearable stuff on your glasses, in your ears, wherever, could be a long-term existential threat, but even there you need something with a battery and a network connection and processing power, and smartphones are pretty good for that, and everybody's got one. So I think they've still got a lot of advantages there. So
what you're really saying is you don't see the next thing coming at this point. There's nothing
it's going to take a while.
Disenfranchise them yet.
Right. But the danger is you get complacent. I think when you say, do they have to
look
innovate?
at BlackBerry. They probably thought they had the market locked.
So that's the danger. I don't, honestly, there are places. Like, I don't think Apple has gotten complacent. I really don't. The AI thing, they missed it. They blew it, but were they complacent? I mean, they were building neural processor units into their processors, and they had it. They missed LLMs because they thought there were other AI technologies that were going to be better. And in fact, I would say they knew enough about AI stuff, about ML stuff, that it gave them a false sense of confidence that LLMs weren't going to be it. And then they got wrong-footed in that. But it wasn't that they were like missing the mark. You wouldn't be missing the mark on the importance of AI and building neural engines into your product for a decade. They just missed LLMs. So I think Apple is kind of obsessive about what the next thing is and about innovating. But there's a danger that their perspective is not, they don't have enough people arguing about what they should do, that they're not as flexible, they're a little more calcified because they are a giant, and this is just the story, they're a giant profitable company. It's very hard when you have, there was a great, on the Connected podcast last week, they were talking about the liquid glass design, and a point that the host made was, Apple's so huge now that if you deeply offend 5% of the install base, that's tens of millions of iPhone users. And the danger when you're Apple and you're that big and you're that successful is it's kind of hard to be as bold as Apple used to be, because you have, again, you're really successful, but you also have this enormous install base. And how do you please all those people or keep them from getting mad at you? And it's a good problem to have, but this is why companies calcify and get more conservative, and they're optimizing for their current profit and not trying to do other stuff. I think Apple tries to fight it. I'm not sure how successful they are at fighting it.
And also, I think Apple, the only time they truly innovated was with the Apple One. So they didn't create MP3s. They just made them MP3 players. They just made them better. They didn't invent touchscreen phones. They just made them better. They didn't improve watches. They just made them better. They didn't improve. They didn't invent a set-top box. They just made it better. And so what Apple, I think a lot of times Apple's MO is to take the, as we said before, take the bread that's been half cooked by other people and just put it back in the oven, just cook it all the way. And so I think that a lot of times they're going to, and I think that they've got a lot of time with AI to work on it. I think that but as other technologies come out, I think Apple has the money and the time and the ability to continue to out-design folks, because a lot of people think, well, if it just does the thing, it's going to be enough. And Apple's like, well, there is this thing called a user experience that might be useful.
All right, we need to take a break. Hang on. We will talk more about all the news having to do with Apple with Jason Snell, Andy Anako, and Alex Lindsay. So glad you're here today. Our show brought to you by a good night's sleep. Doesn't everybody need a good night's sleep? I'm talking about Helix Sleep. Let me tell you. You spend more time in bed than you might think. It's not just for sleeping. Movie nights with your partner, morning cuddles with your pet. Did that this morning with Rosie. Your wind down ritual after long days. Your mattress is at the center of it all. Maybe you're waking up, I bet this summer, maybe this is true. You're waking up in a puddle of sweat, or maybe your back's hurting, or you feel every toss and turn your partner makes. It's a classic mattress nightmare. I need a Helix Sleep changes everything. No more night sweats, no more back pain, no motion transfer. Get the deep sleep you deserve. One buyer recently reviewed it with 5 stars, saying, I love my Helix mattress. I will never sleep on anything else. Time and time again, Helix Sleep remains the most awarded mattress brand. winner of Wired's Best Mattress 2025, Good Housekeeping's Bedding Awards 2025 for premium plus size support. Support's so important. GQ Sleep Awards 2025 for Best Hybrid Mattress. The Wirecutter, New York Times Wirecutter, it gave them awards this year for featured for plus size Oprah's Daily Sleep Awards, Best Hotel-like Feel for 2025, all the awards. And man, what a nice mattress. Go to helixsleep.com/twit for 27% off site-wide during the 4th of July sale. Best of web offer extended. That's helixsleep.com/twit for 27% off site-wide, exclusive for listeners of MacBreak Weekly. This offer ends on July 31st. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. And if you're listening after the sale ends, still be sure to check them out at helixsleep.com/twit. Thank you, Helix. For a good night's sleep. I really appreciate it. Something we all need. So Apple is committed to spending $500 million expanding the U.S. supply chain, they say, with a commitment to American rare earth magnets. Apple and MP Materials will launch an all-new recycling facility for processing recycled rare earth elements. Better to recycle them than to dig them up. This is in Fort Worth, Texas. Is this exactly what you were saying Apple should do to appeal to the government?
Yeah, part of it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think we even said 500 million.
Yeah, I think we said that number. Yeah. Apple is committed to buying American-made rare earth magnets developed at MP Materials' flagship Independence facility in Fort Worth, Texas. They're also going to create a cutting-edge rare earth recycling line in Mountain Pass, California. I don't know where that is. And develop novel magnet materials and innovative processing technologies to enhance magnet performance. How important are magnets to Apple?
Well, rare earth is very important to Apple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a part of every piece of everything that they're doing. And MP Materials is probably the most well-known.
And I guess MagSafe is a magnet. Is it? I don't know.
Definitely. But there's, I mean,
they also use rare earth and the Taptic engine. Nearly all magnets across all Apple devices are made with 100% recycled rare earth elements.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they've been talking about recycling as being a green initiative, but it is also a materials independence initiative, isn't it?
Yeah. Although, you're spending $500 million to save money anyway. By the way, that was
to maintain access to materials that might not be available
otherwise. Yeah, because they come from China, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of unknown. I mean, there are definitely folks with claims in the United States that have MP Materials is one of them, but there's definitely folks that think that there's a lot of rare earths in the United States. We just haven't looked for them as heavily.
Dug them up. Yeah.
Yep.
Are we willing to do to our land what we are willing to pay others to do to their land, though?
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of the people are like, why did we? When you look at the cost of rare earth and you look back at petroleum products, why are we suddenly have all this oil? Why is the United States now the largest producer of petroleum products? Well, it's because we knew that they were there. We just weren't going to do it for $12 a barrel. Like we weren't going to open that up. Then we opened it up when there was more money available. And I think that the rare earth, it takes a long time to turn the rare earth. That's the big thing. Is that to go from zero to it actually producing something takes typically 5 or 6 years.
A victory for Trump as EU backs down. This is maybe Apple saves some money here in the EU on digital taxes. The Politico says it's because of the tariff negotiations. Apple and Meta were about to be taxed pretty heavily by the EU. This was a tax against big tech and digital technologies. The EU has apparently backed down. So, good. I don't know how much it would cost Apple, but I imagine it's a significant amount.
Yeah, apparently they traded away that for taxes on tobacco products and on discarded electronic equipment, and basically adjusted the sliding scale.
That's fine.
Yeah,
good. I'm okay with that.
They still want the $500 million that they fined Apple for, though. That's still happening.
Oh, I thought that might give them a little break on that. No? Oh, well.
No. Actually, they had the EU has like public hearings for all these compliance fines, and so Microsoft, Google, and Apple both had their like live streamed day in front of this panel, and Apple was basically EU was basically saying, "Explain to us why you're not playing nice." And Apple was so petulant. It was amazingly funny. Where their entire statement, they ate up most of their time because there's supposed to be time for Q&A and interrogations, but conversations with the EU people, but also questions from the public. And they were, again, as petulant as a $3 trillion company can be. Like it's couched the language of, well, I mean, we would like to comply, but you keep telling you that we don't think that these are things that can be complied with, and you're not really. So we're just gonna like let the courts tell us, be specific about what we need to do to comply with EU regulations, because you're not doing it, you're not helping us any. It was really really condescending.
I mean, even with the fines, it may actually be cheaper for them to let the courts tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Like, like that may be a pretty well calculated process of like, well, we'll see what we get forced to do, because the problem with a lot of that whole regulation is that it isn't very specific. It's kind of like we'll know it when we see it, like whether you're doing it. So I think that they could give up more than they have to if they actually offered it.
That's a good observation. But Apple was also doing, like they were asked directly, for instance, about so they've been directed to allow third-party browsing engines in the EU, and so they were asking, gee, how come like we made this order a long time ago and you quote complied with it a long time ago, and yet we don't see like any third-party any browsers on iOS that use third-party engines that don't use WebKit? And they said, gosh, we don't know why. And meanwhile, like they actually basically answered their own question by saying, yeah, here's everything. Here's all the roadblocks you've put up against anybody. Even Google and Mozilla have testified that they wanted to do it, they tried to do it, but they found it absolutely impossible under the terms that Apple was demanding. So again, it was a fun live stream. It was about 3 hours long.
Did you watch it?
I've gotten through a half of it so far. While I was doing email and stuff, but it's pretty amazing stuff. Like I said, there's something that just triggers Apple when they talk about certain topics. They can be perfectly reasonable about certain other regulations, but when you talk about steering, when you talk about how they run the App Store, when they talk about how they allow people to outsiders to operate on their own platforms, they are just. I know that my hands and my mouth are covered with blueberry jam, but I swear I'm not the person who got into the blueberry jam and stole it all.
Wow. Apple, let's talk about, there's so many rumors as we get closer to iPhone Day. First of all, iPhone Day, everybody seems to agree, will be September 8th. Is that credible? Jason, you kind of pay attention to this stuff.
It's predictable.
It's exactly what we'd think because it's the first Tuesday after.
So the 8th is a Monday, so I would say the
after
9th.
Labor Day.
Okay. The 9th is the one where I'd put my money down. The 9th.
Okay. First week after Labor Day week.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's the bad news. And
that would mean that phones would probably ship on the 19th, is my guess.
I'm leaving for vacation on the 20th, so I might be able to take my new iPhone with me. Are you guys going to look at the Air, the rumored extra slim iPhone Air?
I want the extra thick one.
Yeah, battery life. Right?
Like I want battery life and power. Like I don't care about how thin it is because I put it in it's in a big thick case. Like I'm not getting anywhere near the and if it's thin, I just want it to be in a thicker case to make sure it doesn't get bent or turned or anything else. And so I have literally not even zero negative interest in some thinner phone. I'm sure that there are people that want them.
I might get it just to be different. Just to not look like you.
I think a lot of people are going to be like that. It's like Apple is. I'm surprised that Apple doesn't do more. Let's call them style phones, where they're not just the meat and potatoes Uber phone for everybody. We've got a slab phone for mid-range people, a slab phone for budget people. We've got a slab phone for people who've got $1,200 to spend. They are so good at design and making it worthwhile to pay for Apple design that I'm surprised that they haven't. This is pretty much the first time they've done a phone that is you will be paying a lot for a little more for a lot less phone. But oh my God, when you hold this in the Apple Store, you will some of you will decide that maybe I don't need an iPhone Pro after all. I'm with you, Alex. This is the absolute intersection of a product that I think Apple would do a great job of making, and a product that I have no interest in owning whatsoever.
Yeah. And I do agree with you that making a thin phone would be great. I just wish they'd also go the other direction, make a thin phone, and then make a really hefty, powerful phone with tons of storage and power and battery.
I keep hearing people saying this, but like the whole point is that you take the phone, and if you need more coverage, storage, battery, whatever, like that, you put a case on it, and you put a battery case on it. And that's the whole point, is that if they make, because you're not the only friend of mine who has said, I just want them to make a big one with a big battery in it. And it's like, but that's just the whole point of Apple making little ones, is that you can then add to them as you see fit. But if they made one that was only available in that size and shape, it would be another SKU, and they know that it would only sell to a small amount. So instead they make what my pal John Siracusa calls the naked robotic core. And then everybody, because I mean, most people put cases on them too, but Apple doesn't build them. Like if you like a case so much, why don't they make it with the case? And the answer is because they want it to just be this little thing. And then you choose what you want on top of that. I think the thin phone goes even more extreme in that direction. I think it could be cool. I think it could be interesting. Why not make it? For all the reasons you've said, but like, if you just, at some point, if you want a super rugged, battery-heavy phone, get a battery case and a rugged battery case and stick it on there, and you've got it. Like nobody's stopping you.
I was introduced to the first time I've ever seen my phone. I was capturing some stuff for my daughter for her music stuff, and the first time I ever saw the phone, I was charging it externally as well as capturing from it. And I've never seen an iPhone say, "I'm too hot, I can't keep recording." Like I can't, and I was doing ProRes HQ on it. But that's when I started going, well, it'd be great if I didn't. I think it got my thought. My thought
I think there's
process,
a rumor.
I don't want to just do it externally.
Isn't there a rumor that they're doing some new cooling tech on this next generation too, where they're gonna? There's like the vacuum chamber, whatever it is.
And the thing is that you can do the ProRes or the HQ. What you can't do is do HQ and charge it at the same time for a long period of time. Like that's the thing that gets you. Is it'll heat up because it heats the battery a lot when you are charging it, and then you add a ton of processing to it, and that turned out to be the thing that got. But I'd never seen that message. It was a new message.
I'm just glad they're making it thicker where it counts. Like the people, I remember the first camera, the Nokia 1020 or 1030 camera, where they said, "Screw it, we're going to bump out the camera modules because we want to have really great optics." And designers just savaged it. Oh, look, it's got like an Oreo cookie on top of it. But man, did they have the right idea. When you make the camera module thicker, the optics are much better, and you get better pictures, and people will get over it once they see the great pictures that they make.
I have to admit that I was a little excited when the early rumors showed the cameras going all the way down all the way across the top, thinking that maybe that the two cameras on either side would be much closer to interocular distance, so that when they do the 3D, you would actually be able to get a much more aggressive 3D, but it doesn't look like that's where they're going.
Yeah, the bump goes all the way from left to right, which is in itself a feature.
I saw that. I was excited about the bump going left to right. I was just hoping they're going to put a camera on the other corner of that bump so that we would get maybe. I mean, rumors right now. As
I've shown time and time again, the idea of like a horizontal bump means that you can actually put it on the counter and it doesn't rock when you're actually using it. So that alone, I think, will get a lot of people saying, "Okay, you know what? Maybe I don't hate the bump after all."
So speaking of bumps, Sonny Dixon has pictures of the iPhone 17 lens protection cover, which he says tells you what colors the new phones will come in. And they're actually some kind of dramatic colors. For the 17, black, gray, silver, light blue, light green, and light purple. For the Air, black, silver, blue, gray, and light gold. For the Pro, orange, black, gray, silver, dark blue, and orange.
Yeah, they're
orange.
Orange?
or it could be more of a copper.
It is kind of coppery. Maybe
those are just the names that were like put attached to it.
that's what he called it.
Yeah. There's the Mac Rumor story about this has this like a concept render of the phone, and they've taken dark blue and copper and made it into bright blue and bright orange. And maybe it's just 10 years of knowing that Apple doesn't want to do colors in Pro phones, but I have a hard time believing that those will look like that. I think, and take your imagination and then desaturate it like 90% to be like faintly coppery instead of bright orange. And if you look close, you could see that it's a darker
like the
blue.
laptop blue. Yeah.
But I mean, amen though. Great. I would love to see phones these colors. I just don't believe it.
I wouldn't have to buy a Slim if they have an orange Pro.
Yeah.
I'll stand out plenty. Well, we'll see. And these are rumors, although they're more credible now because they are undoubtedly manufacturing these, right?
Yeah. There's news that India's plants are already accepting shipments of components, whether they are components for a trial run or test run or an actual production run, unknown. But they are definitely getting components ready.
Even though China recalled all the Foxconn engineers.
Yeah, but that's not a problem. They
can still make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Apple likes a multi-toned phone design on the back, and so what the mock-ups are doing is saying, okay, that ring is going to be the color that it is. And I think I hope it's true, but I think it's more likely that ring is the pop of color on a much less colorful thing. We'll see.
Yeah.
So like that would be like the bright copper, and the body would be like a darker copper, not a contrasting.
Yeah,
color.
or a lighter sort of vaguely coppery sheened white gray, because that seems to be what everything Apple does on the Pro phones is sort of like it's black except not quite, or it's white except not quite, or it's tan. Right, like it's like, right. Remember Desert Titanium? I mean, this could literally be. It's basically beige with a little tiny touch of orange here and there.
Basically, the designer's vision board for iPhone colors is they take stills from like the old Bob Newhart show, like the sunken living room, and if there's a rust, there's sort of a buff color, there's sort of a brown color. Yeah, they don't go. I am of the belief that every phone line should have one kind of wild color in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my favorite iPhone color of the last decade was the coral on the iPhone XR, which was this just bananas orange. I loved it so much, but they so rarely do that.
Yeah. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk about what you won't be getting this year. Mark Gurman disappointed me a lot. But anyway, we'll talk about that in just a second. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. This episode brought to you by Spaceship, the new, better way to register your domain, to get your hosting, your email. We've talked about Spaceship a few times already on MacBreak Weekly for good reason. If you've seen it, you know it's quickly becoming one of the fastest growing domain name registrars and hosting providers. 3 million domains, 3 million under management in less than 2 years. And really, I think most of it right now. That kind of rapid growth doesn't happen by accident. Spaceship offers, you're looking at it right now, but beautiful, clean, straightforward interface and innovative product features. I love this messaging tool, Thunderbolt, end-to-end encryption using your domain name, which you completely own and control. I just love it. I went to Thunderbolt, registered. By the way, they have below market prices for domain name registration. I registered Leos.im, because I thought, well, this is my instant messenger now, right? For about $4 a year, and then set up a Spaceship with a one-button connect, and suddenly I've got a messaging app fully encrypted end-to-end using Leos.im. I love that. That, by the way, that low pricing is something that really sets a Spaceship apart. We're not just talking about new purchase prices. Their renewal prices are also low compared to other companies. In fact, it's a no-brainer if you're considering transferring your existing domains. If you've got a domain stuck with another, back in primitive times registrar, transferring it to Spaceship is quicker and easier and simpler than you might think. The transfer process, and I'll vouch for this, incredibly straightforward. It often completes in just 30 minutes. You don't even have to wait till your current domain expires. In fact, you probably don't want to, because once the transfer is complete, they'll automatically add an additional year to your current registration. So you won't lose any time. Plus, you'll receive a complimentary 1-year subscription to Space Mail, their incredible professional business email, and it'll be to your address, which is awesome. Very pro looking, right? If you've got a company getting email at AOL.com, no, stop. To discover how much you can save compared to your current registrar, visit spaceship.com/twit and follow the link at the top of the page. When you're ready to switch and save, transfer your domain to Spaceship today. Spaceship.com/twit. Love these guys. So nice. And a question from the chat, is AOL email better or worse than a Yahoo email? They're the same, aren't they now?
Yeah, I feel like you're just digging back through the different layers of sediment from the past of the internet.
Yeah.
I'm amazed, though. I mean, I get a lot of email. I see lots of Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL domains.
But once you're on, it's hard to get off. Right. It's hard to switch.
Right. That's right.
Forever.
Doesn't have to be. Spaceship.com.
I had a Yahoo that, I log in for ages, and they finally had like one breach too many where they're like, okay, everything is you're gonna have to come back to Yahoo and do this and do that. And I was like, no,
nope.
not just delete my account. It's fine. I don't care anymore.
I don't care anymore.
We had a good 20 years, Yahoo, but
for a long time, I just sent all my spam to Yahoo. I still use Yahoo to log into Flickr, though. Come to think.
I only used it for like fantasy football. Honestly.
Perfect. Yeah.
That was about it. So when I retired from fantasy football, it's goodbye.
Bye. You don't do that anymore. Do you do fantasy curling?
I don't do fantasy sports. I decided I didn't care enough about it. Made me like it was made me care about things artificially, and it just, I wasn't getting any joy out of it. It was more like work to go set my lineups and stuff. And I thought, well, if you're not enjoying it, don't do it. So I stopped.
It's a huge time sink.
It is.
Larry got it. His own domain, lrau.com. Oh, but that was back in the day, Larry. All right. All right. What are we not going to get? I'm holding out for the MacBook Pro with the OLED screen and maybe an M6 or an M5 processor. Well,
late 26, early 27, I guess.
Maybe not 26 even, because the M5 MacBook Pro is 26.
Well,
according to Gurman.
Gurman said it's in he was really vague about it. He said they're probably next year instead of this fall. But
Apple's considering pushing them back to 2026.
Considering, right? And he also said it was like in flux or something. So it's maybe we may not get it this. Basically, if you're expecting an annual cycle where it's going to come out this fall like it did last fall, it may not. It may be more like the previous year where you get it in early next year. That doesn't preclude Apple from releasing that new OLED MacBook Pro that's been rumored at the end of next year, because they did that. Remember, a couple of years ago, they did 2 different MacBook Pro iterations in a single calendar year. They could do that again. It wouldn't be a problem. There's no law preventing them from doing it. Or they could wait and ship it in 27. That's also possible.
Yeah.
One more cycle, though, and then you'll get your OLED MacBook Pro, it sounds like. But that's interesting. Also, the other quirk of that report is if it's true that they're not going to do a fall launch for the MacBook Pro, he said they are going to do a fall launch for the iPad Pro. And that would mean the second Apple chip generation in a row to be launched by an iPad instead of by a Mac, which is wild. If the M5 first appears
iPad Pro.
in the iPad,
I think it feels upside down to me, but I'm starting to think that the lower quality chips that are easier to make first. It's just, so you put them out first, but it feels so backwards. But I can understand that you slowly work your way up. I mean, Jason said this before.
Because you don't have to have a Pro or a Max to launch an iPad, but you do to launch a MacBook Pro.
Because a lot of times I think that, that you have, the chips just aren't yielding what they need to yield yet, because a higher percentage of them, because in the iPad, we're not really measuring them the same way.
Yeah, you can get that basic. Nothing about chip design is basic, obviously, but an M5 is going to be the most basic of any of the M5 family. Yeah. And, and it's possible even via binning that the M5 that goes in the iPad Pro might not even be the same M5 specs that you might get in a MacBook Pro down the line. Maybe not, who knows? And it's a smaller volume. So it lets them kind of ramp up the volume and they don't have to have the Pro and Max variants there on day one for that product. And so, I'm not surprised.
I think it's amazing. Like these chips are so complicated, and they're baked. Like they're baked. It's kind of like we're computing with bread. Like it's they're and some of the bread is good, and some of the bread isn't as good. Like because they come out as these wafers, and some of them are running faster than the other. Some of them will continue to run and do what they need to do faster than the other ones, and that's what ends up in one place or another. And then when they run out of where to put them, I think they put them in the Apple TVs. Like they just like here, we'll just throw them in here. That it'll be fast enough.
Well, I have handcuffed myself to this notion of a M6 OLED fully redesigned MacBook Pro, and I will not allow myself to buy anything until then.
Good for you.
Sounds like
go get them, Leo.
Tie me to the mast, please.
It probably won't be foldable though.
Well, speaking of
Andy,
foldables.
All laptops are foldable, okay?
Once. Right.
No. Every
you
time.
just close the lid.
All laptops are foldables.
But are we going to get into is a burrito of a sandwich argument here? What constitutes a fold? A hinge is not a fold. A hinge is something you open or close, sir.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Feels foldable to me.
If I had a white leather glove, I'd be slapping you with it. And
sir, I challenge you. I challenge you, sir. So the iPad Pro, which is slated to get the M5 chip as early as October. Wow, that would be in this October. Wow, that'd be interesting. The Airs will be upgraded from the M3 to the M4, but otherwise limited changes. All right.
God, I just want to see. It won't be me, of course, but I just want to see the person who's got a big checkbook who says, you know what, I'm going to buy the maxed out M5 iPad Pro. I'm going to attach the maximum number of monitors and cameras and microphones and external Thunderbolt connectors and everything. I want to see exactly how much of a warship desktop I can turn this iPad into, because it seems like the ambition is definitely there.
And as Mark says, the timing remains fluid. So don't take this as gospel. The company had been planning to release new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros later this year with M5, but now internally, Gurman says, targeting a launch early next year. But it's fluid. It's fluid. I think this might, given the changes in iPad OS, this might be the year of the iPad in 2026. Maybe these iPads are where people will go because they're now maybe a little bit more like real computers.
Yeah, iOS 26 is probably a bigger upgrade than the M5.
Yeah. MacBook Air is also coming in the first half of next year, according to Gurman. And a new external monitor, the first since the Apple Studio display, the highly overpriced but still desirable Apple Studio display 3 years ago. Early 2026 for Studio 2 or whatever they call it. The Smart Home Hub, originally planned for a few months ago, delayed indefinitely due to its reliance on the new Siri voice assistant features. That device, says Mr. Gurman, may now arrive in the first half of 2026 as well.
Yeah. It was interesting because he blamed not specifically Siri, but app intents for Siri. That put the kibosh on it. And I think one of his previous reports, I remember because I liked the suggestion that Apple was basically saying, we don't care. We're gonna Apple Watch this release where we're gonna get the hardware on point and perfect. We're gonna release it in time for holiday buyers, and then we will give them a hell of an upgrade in the spring once Apple Intelligence is ready for this device. But we're not necessarily going to hold off on shipping what could be a very, very interesting and exciting product, particularly as a holiday sort of release, just because we don't know exactly when Apple Intelligence is going to be ready. So
Mark says this is not a technical. There are no technical reasons for this. He says it's about smoothing out revenue growth. He said after a pandemic-fueled sales surge in the early part of the decade, Apple has suffered from spottier demand the past 2 years. A slower rollout of new models, including iPads, contributed to the slump. So they're trying to kind of stretch it back so that they can get a more even revenue flow, so
it
your
feels to
graphs
me-
look better.
This feels like Bloomberg narrative building, where you're thinking
Okay.
when you think about the market, you can have a little narrative like that. I guess at most charitable, what I would say is, if you really crank up your product release engine, so you've got a new version every year, everything should be smoother, and that the COVID,
That's a good point.
everything was bumpier, and that maybe
Yeah.
they're just trying to get it so that they're back on track to just release everything every year and smooth everything out again.
And I also think it's very hard for Apple to get growth in the iPad. As someone who owns a lot of iPads, it takes a long time before you feel like the iPad's running slow. You buy a new one and it's like 5 years into it, and it's still, and it's again because with the Macs, new software comes out that gets slow. Like Resolve is suddenly a lot slower, or a lot faster on the new M4s or whatever than it was before. With the iPads, it's like, what app is actually making it hurt? And it's just really hard to find.
Honestly,
apps
Alex, the reason that you upgrade an iPad is not because it's slow like a Mac. You do it
broke the
because
screen.
or there's a new hardware feature, right? Like there's a new Apple Pencil thing, or there's a new OLED screen, or there's a new.
I don't know if the OLED screen really pulls.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I think it's
we can debate them.
Screen on
we can debate them, but what we can't debate is that it's faster is the hardest of sells. So it is going to be more about the shape or some hardware feature they've added in the meantime, not because, my M1 iPad feels so slow right now, because it doesn't. I've got one. It doesn't.
Yeah, and the the USB-C made a big difference when they switched over to that. I don't think cameras matter as much on the iPad, because when are you taking pictures with your cameras?
Please don't.
Yeah, like it's, and so I think
Unless you're over 60, it's not allowed.
Well, I think that's it. I think it's always sluggish. It's such an amazing piece of hardware, but I mean, I've said this before. My kids have ones that are 10 years old that they're still using, and that's and just kind of plotting along with.
I have to say, once you use the M4 Pro with that screen, you don't.
yeah.
That's the best screen Apple makes.
Trying
You
not
don't
to
want
do
to go
that.
back.
I haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Don't. You'll never go back.
I,
By the way,
I bought the Vision Pro, and it kind of sucked up a huge amount of like what I spend money on for a while. So
I just got the new Lenovo Chromebook. The Chromebook Plus is with the OLED screen, and it is the same thing. OLED. That's it for me now. From now on, it's OLEDs.
It's
OLED all the way down. This is not for me. I'm going to show Jeff Jarvis to make him unhappy, and then I'm going to give it to my daughter. She likes Chromebooks.
so cute.
If you like folding displays, not the laptop version, the Anadianako style, you'll be glad to know that apparently, according to Ming-Chi Kuo, Apple's decided to go with a crease-free display solution from Samsung. And it's going to be made by this fine M-Tec company, the leading winner for Samsung's display crease-free solution for the foldable in second half 26. So that's good.
That was interesting. There were rumors floating around that Apple was so demanding of of a folding display that doesn't have the crease that they actually developed their own technology or their own system for it. And so this is a new twist that Samsung is going to make it for them, and they didn't. It's not Apple's design; it's something that Samsung created, and so that should show something about Samsung's ability to get on the ball when a client as big as Apple is placing an order as big as that. It's going to create so much credibility for folding phones. The foldables that came out at Samsung Unpacked last week are amazing.
They were so thin.
It's funny when we get in this game of like, Apple and Samsung, they're arch rivals. But the truth is, Samsung Display is a giant company, and they've been like giving samples to Apple for like a decade now, and Apple's like not good enough, and they keep talking about it. They are desperate to get Apple on board and sell them a product, and that they finally gotten to the point where there's something where Apple's like, yeah, that's good enough, let's do it. And like, it's going to be, it's a huge win for Samsung Display, it's a huge win for foldable phones, but that's pretty cool, right? Like the idea that they've been iterating, and Apple's like, no, and then they're like, all right, that's it, let's do it. Let's do it, and it makes sense because they are one of the really one of the leaders, if not the leader, in that kind of display technology. And this is one of those great advantages, because Samsung just puts it out there and says, let's see about this one, whereas Apple has been happy to sit on the sidelines until now.
Nice.
Yeah. Next year
we're going to talk about health. in just a moment when we come back. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Andy Anako, Jason Snell, and Alexander Lindsay, who is on vacation in not Cape Hatteras.
Holden Beach.
Holden Beach. He's holding the beach. Are you?
But coming to you from Charleston. It's complicated.
Just to be
a
confused.
picture from Holden Beach.
No, hey, I appreciate that. You went the extra mile, literally, to get a good picture and good sound. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good excuse to come to Charleston, meet, see some friends. It all worked out.
Yeah. Do we want to thank somebody for giving you access?
Powered by Sage I'm in their Sage studios, and they have these. This is a huge LED wall. Like it is.
Oh,
it's massive. Like that's a wall behind me.
That's not a blue screen.
Monitor.
It's a real.
I think it's, I want to say it's like 8 feet by 16 feet behind me. Oh, 9 by 20. 9 by 20. So it's it's an FR7 that's sitting in front of me, here, and I've got 4 huge monitors that I see here. This is definitely the way to do this in style. So it's
only a matter of time before Alex sets us all up at home, I imagine. But until then, powered by Sage.
Powered by Sage. I've been taking notes. I'm taking notes like, oh, this is really nice.
Somebody should tell the information about this. They decided they wanted to do a daily video tech news show, streamed live at 10 a.m. every day. They name it TITV.
Okay, that wasn't very well vetted.
I mean, Twit's bad enough, but anyway. So their first stream was yesterday, and of course, a flagship interview. They got Mark Zuckerberg, Jessica Lesson, their CEO, interviewing Mark Zuckerberg. They throw to Jessica and Mark. They're talking. There's no sound. Yeah. They're talking. There's no sound.
Live is hard, and this
they literally have to cut away. I'm saying, sorry, we don't have any sound. So see you tomorrow.
When I first met Blue, who is one of the owners of Powered by Sage, I was excited because they were doing Zooms for 800 people at the beginning of COVID or whatever.
Whoa. And that's what we're seeing here on their screen. Look at this.
Now they do them for 30,000, like 30,000 people in so if you're doing a giant meeting and you need, and being able to grab any person from that whole wall. And that's a studio that you're seeing there. It's like a huge wall.
It's incredible.
It is the most advanced, event studio I've ever been in. So
come on, Jessica, you can afford it. Go to Sage.
There you go.
Don't try to do it on your own.
Absolutely.
I think they have an intern running it. It's not good.
It's hard. You watch that all the time. If you don't do it all the time, it is really hard to just stand up and make it work.
Yeah.
It's complicated. So,
well, and how, you get Mark Zuckerberg, which is a great get, and then there's no sound. How embarrassing is that? I mean, that's,
I almost had that happen.
Yeah. Well, that's why you go to the pros like Alex Lindsay or Powered by Sage. It looks easy.
Yeah. Well, that's the goal.
It's not.
When you're doing it for someone, you try to make it look easy because they won't do it again if they knew how hard it was.
Right.
Like when you're working for them, everything's like it's all.
You don't want to never let them see you sweat. Yeah.
And then they think, oh, I can do it myself, and then they go try, and then they roll the 737 down the road, and then they're much nicer after that. It's,
yes. Our show. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Sage, for giving Alex that very nice place to hang. This episode of MacBreak Weekly brought to you by Melissa. We talk about them all the time. They're the trusted data quality expert. They've actually been doing that longer than we've been doing this, since 1985. Melissa's address validation app is available for merchants now in the Shopify App Store. Oh, I got to tell Henry about this. This is cool. Enhance your business's fulfillment and keep your customers happy with Melissa. Enhanced address correction corrects and standardizes addresses all over the world, more than 240 countries and territories. And then Melissa adds missing components, postal codes. They ensure compliance with local formatting rules, which are all over the place. Every country is different. Melissa's address engine is certified by leading postal authorities worldwide. So they are giving you the right address. And for deliverability, that's so important. Smart alerts, this is cool, warn in real time As your customer is entering their address, please send me your new stuff. If there's a potential issue with the shipping address, customers get a little pop-up giving them the chance to update their information before the order even goes into your system. So you've always got accurate data in your system. Look, a business of any size can benefit from Melissa. The data experts, their data quality expertise goes far beyond just address validation. In fact, every industry can use Melissa. Healthcare, perfect example. Data cleansing and validation, absolutely essential. It's life or death in fields like healthcare. In healthcare, 2 to 4% of contact data is outdated every month. That means millions of patient records changing. Those records, they're in motion. They demand precision, right? You can't send the medication to the wrong address. Only Melissa can keep those addresses up to date. Slight variations in addresses, misspelled names can cause duplication and fragmentation errors, risks of misidentification or lost records. In healthcare, it's more than just a package doesn't get to the right place. These data inconsistencies can delay treatments. They can introduce errors in care delivery and complicate billing processes. Melissa's data enrichment services remove that gap. By using Melissa's enrichment as part of their data management strategy, healthcare organizations are actually using it to build a more comprehensive view of each patient, which supports continuity of care, timely follow-up. It also aids in predictive analytics, allowing providers to identify patterns in patient behavior or medical needs that actually can inform preventative care. And of course, your data is safe with Melissa. It's absolutely safe, compliant, and secure with Melissa. Melissa's solutions and services are GDPR and CCPA compliant. They're ISO 27001 certified. They meet SOC 2 and HIPAA high trust standards for information security management. They have to. They're the trustees of the most important stuff in your business, your data. So they protect it like it's their own. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. That's melissa.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support. melissa.com/twit. Yeah, Grok has 2 new agents, they call it, that you can talk to the AI with. One is a waifu kind of anime girly that's kind of sexy and talks sexy. The other one is a wise ass fox. I can't even say on the air. I turn him on, and the first before I said like hello, he says, I can't even say it on the air. He says I'm gonna go teabag the mayor. He says,
"Oh my."
I said, what? Who's mayor? He said, whatever mayor you want. And he got more filthy after that.
How is this helping you to help me to book a flight to Vienna?
I think Elon has decided that because Grok is kind of the also-ran compared to Anthropic and OpenAI, that they need to get attention. And there's no such publicity as bad publicity. This was actually, I think Amy Webb or Harper Reid floated this on Twitter on Sunday, that the whole Mecha Hitler thing was intentional to get coverage, because other than that, nobody ever heard of it, right? If you're not an X user. So now it's even, and he's getting coverage. I'm giving him coverage. It's just appalling.
Still got $200 million from the Department of Defense.
He just took $2 billion from SpaceX and put it in XAI. I don't even know if that's legal. I guess it is. It's all really Elon Enterprises. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just old man yelling at clouds. Let's talk about health. This is an interesting study, and if it is genuine, could be amazing. Apple's newest AI model flags health conditions with up to 92% accuracy.
And we talked about this when it first came out, is that Apple, with a lot of the anonymized data and everything else, over time is going to see trends that you could never see any other way, because people have these on their wrists all the time. Yeah. So it's absolutely going to, this is just the natural reaction, and it will get better. It's 92 right now.
It's using the information it's collecting every day from us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was from the data from the heart and motion studies that they've been doing. They've been doing for a while.
I volunteer for
130,000 people or so. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not everybody, but
evaluated on 57 health-related tasks, the Apple model shows strong performance across diverse real-world applications.
I mean, this is 162,000 individuals. I mean, most of these studies are like 2,000, or maybe we'll get up to 10,000. And, and they're doing 162,000. And that's just a small sliver of the users. And so that's the huge advantage that this is going to have. And as they add more sensors, it's just going to get more accurate.
Well, actually, what's very interesting about this study is that it's not necessarily, hey, we've got these incredibly advanced, fine-tuned sensors that give us this finely grained information about something very, very technical. A lot of it is the fact that they're looking at not just the heart rate monitor, they're not just looking at that stuff. They're also looking at your behavior. How much are you moving around? Combine that with your sleep data. Combine that with all these other data that is tracking. So the paper mentions just parts are as simple as if this person is A, B, C, and they suddenly are moving around a lot more slowly, gradually over the past 2 months, it's probably indicative of X. And I'm not totally surprised that they say that the study claims that this model is predicting like pregnancy with like a 92% accuracy. I'm surprised that it's things like diabetes.
Combining wearable sensors with physical measurements as such as step counts can make for a pregnancy detector.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not just, and I don't know if it's just step count.
Because of gait. It's because of gait.
The
wow.
gait, and that's the, and I think that there's again, I don't think it's a single sensor that's going to make a difference, but as you add more sensors, it adds more to that cluster, and it adds a more complex or more detailed picture of what's going on in someone's body. And I think Tim Cook talked about this a very long time ago. He said, I think our biggest impact is going to be health. And I think that this is just the beginning of where that's going.
Really cool. Really cool. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 comes out this fall. I'll probably upgrade. I love my Apple Watch.
I love my Ultra 3. The Ultra 2 is
3. This is a 2. Yeah. In fact, look, it shows my blood sugar because I'm wearing a CGM, and so it goes to the Apple Watch, and I know my blood sugar is right now 118. That's super useful. Good. Yeah, that is good for me. I'm a type 2 diabetic, so that's healthy.
Yeah, I think that when the watch actually, I'm kind of waiting when the watch actually measures sugar. I know it could take a while, but I feel like I don't know what the watch would do that I want it to, what more my Ultra would do. Like, I just don't know what feature. The only feature I could think of was glucose monitoring. Like I would buy the next
or blood
Apple
pressure.
Watch that does. Blood pressure, maybe. I mean, I have.
Well, you're old.
Why things? I don't. I take it. I take my blood pressure. I take my blood pressure.
Oh, you are hypertensive. Okay.
Yeah. So I take it almost every day, and
so you'd want that.
I want that, but I don't know how accurate I would lean into it. I think the big thing about glucose monitoring is that it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate to give you a sense of what you're doing. And so you see these peaks.
It's
and
the delta that you care about.
Yeah, you care about. Oh wow, like I ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then immediately wanted to look at my watch. I just go. I just waited. I waited 45 minutes, and then opened up my phone and looked at it, and I should.
It's got me walking.
It's like you're posting to social media, and your audience is your glucose monitor.
Well, the funny thing is the whole family.
How many likes did I get for that sandwich?
The whole family is into it because my daughter will be like, she saw me eating it, and she's like, oh, let's look at your glucose level.
That's so cool that she's aware of that. Is great. Is really good.
Yeah.
It's got me walking after every meal now, or every dinner.
It has
anyway,
me the same thing. I have this thing now. Like I eat and I go, okay, now I gotta go. I gotta go do 10 minutes.
Burn off that glucose. Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Apple Silicon machine learning code. This is actually, I wish it went the other direction, but we were talking about AI machines. The Mac Mini or the Mac Studio, or I guess the Mac Pro, with its NPUs, with its unified memory, is actually a brilliant AI machine. Maybe one of the best AI machines, except it lacks CUDA because it's not NVIDIA. I would love to see some sort of translator back and forth between Apple's, I don't know if it'd be Metal or whatever it is, to CUDA. They are now, Apple Silicon machine learning code may become more easily portable to NVIDIA hardware now, because there's a project designed to develop on an Apple Silicon Mac and then exporting it to CUDA, cross-compiling in effect. This is Apple's MLX is the company's open source machine learning framework. And people are working now to add support to the back end for CUDA. It'd be nice if it went both ways.
But even this is pretty significant. NVIDIA is the number one producer of AI chips out there. So the idea that you're doing your development work on Apple AI, and that the tease that maybe this can be ported to, again, the most popular chip platform for AI in the world, basically validates the amount of work you're doing on Apple AI.
I will say, when we talked about pivots before, man, NVIDIA has done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Well,
they've recently
CUDA
is
from
$4 billion
Bitcoin
company.
to AI. From Bitcoin
CUDA is
to AI is pretty
protected.
good.
So having CUDA to Apple would be perhaps a problem, because I imagine NVIDIA would very actively, defend it. Nevertheless, it is a moat. So this is the Hacker News story. Apple's MLX adding CUDA support. I don't know if that's quite fair. It's really cross-compiling on Apple to CUDA.
And
Going the other way might be a problem.
And it is very early going, but it just goes to show that the more portable you can make things, the more credible Apple becomes. It's not, they don't have to own everything. They just have to make sure that whatever's out there, the work that you do on Apple in artificial intelligence is going to be embracing whatever technology, software, hardware models that are outside the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah, I went out and ordered a AMD, this new AI plus Ryzen, hoping to have a home AI server. But I realized, and one of the things it does is unified memory. I realized, really, I've got the Mac Mini here with a lot of memory. I probably should just be running my home AI on that.
Yeah.
This is perhaps not the best image. You know where I'm going. Hannah Waddingham, the star of Ted Lasso, says season 4 is like a, quote, beloved dog that was buried, and now we've exhumed it.
Yeah, to be fair, she was shooting from the hip. She was on a red carpet and just answered a spontaneous question. I'm not sure the publicist signed off on this, but
whoa,
we're talking about Ted Lasso, aren't we? So
Like a zombie dog.
and she says she's here for
a dog like it's like half skeleton and half, like coming out.
sometimes
this was at the
death is better.
Smurfs premiere in Los Angeles. If you appear in a movie, a live action film about Smurfs, I guess, when you go to the red carpet, you might be a little stoned. I don't know. She says, I was hankering and hankering and hankering and hankering to see where my Rebecca had gone, where she was going to. She's my girl. She's in my bloodstream. So I'm thrilled it's been exhumed.
Evidently, someone told her that the season 3 was the last season. Like, I think that
I think everybody thought it was, didn't they?
Yeah. And they were like, hey, this did so well. This is the typical Hollywood thing. It's like, well, this did really well. We might want to do another season. Yeah.
Didn't they? I didn't watch it, but did they kind of in season 3 kind of wrapped it up? Right? It's over.
At least for Ted.
Yeah, but he's coming back for season 4, so I don't know what he's going to be doing.
Maybe I think I read the story. This basic storyline is that Hannah Waddingham's character is like buying a women's soccer team and expanding her sports portfolio, and maybe bring Ted back for that.
All right. Yeah, Ted will come back for that. By the way, I have been informed it is not a live-action Smurf movie, so now my heart is broken. It's just a new animated Smurfs movie.
Well, wait 2.5 years. They'll do the live-action remake.
I want a live-action Smurf movie.
I don't know if we do want that.
I think Hannah Waddingham as Mama Smurf would be just something else.
We like Hannah Waddingham. We want to see her in more things.
Let's see. Did you want to buy Steve Jobs' commune? This is his counterculture commune in Oregon. It's for sale. Apparently, this is the orchard he worked in to pick apples, right? And that's where he got the name Apple. It's very early years of Steve Jobs. There's the apple orchard. Let's see. How much would it be? It might be only $5 million in McMinnville, Oregon.
And not only that, but the previous buyer of the property, as though he was auctioning this shack on Sotheby's, like verified the red shack where Steve Jobs actually slept.
Look, there's an Apple logo in the window.
And preserved it, yeah.
It looks like half of this was cut off there. I don't know what's going on with that shack.
I don't know. It looks like he shared that with chickens or something. It's not.
Yeah, Cider House rules here. Look, there's the interior of the cabin looks much as it did when he lived there.
Yeah.
Okay. Except I don't think there was an Atari computer on the desk. Why is there an Atari on the desk?
Because he lived there apparently at the same time when he and Woz were developing Breakout.
Oh, okay.
Which is why, of course, there's an Atari 400 personal computer on the desk. Yeah.
Woz was a frequent visitor to the farm. That's maybe a little bit of history. The property's been a commune until the mid-'80s and then fell into disrepair. It could be used as a corporate retreat, says the seller, a hunting lodge, a vineyard, a winery, or any other commercial venture. It does look pretty. It does look pretty. I wonder how much more is it worth because Steve Jobs walked around barefoot there. I don't know. You could make a little museum. It's home to the McMinnville's home to the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum and the Wings and Waves Water Park. In case you thought you were moving to the backwoods, oh my, no.
Home of the Splashmeister General.
This is an interesting website. A history of Mac settings. 1984
really nice.
to 2004. You put this in, right?
Yeah, it's a designer basically decided that the control panel is the only thing that's been a constant from 1984 through today, even though they updated it and changed the name of it. And so he did this beautiful interactive website that basically shows the design changes that Apple has gone through, and as expressed through how they designed the control panel and how it changed over the years. And it's not just static text with some screenshots.
It's a nice site.
It really is a beautiful experience navigating this thing.
Yeah, this is really cool.
And it is an interesting look at here's every setting and user control you needed for the very first Mac, and then compare and contrast to what you have to be confronted with today in order to manage a system, even in a minimal way.
Yeah. Boy, it's memory lane, isn't it? I bet you all have had almost all of these. I have.
Yeah.
Wow. We thought we were so cool when we got the first color Mac. Laptop. Wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. So pretty. There's the iMac. Nice orange color. Oh, I'm sorry, copper. I don't know what color.
With the little extensions.
And then look at the 3D kind of design. It's starting to get a little 3D on the control panel.
Yeah.
There's this PowerBook. Oh, a Next Cube. It even has the Next Cube in here.
Yeah,
I did see an article about setting the magnesium Next Cube on fire. Don't do that.
That seems instinctively not a good thing to do.
Not a good thing. Not a good thing. Although magnesium is flammable. Inflammable, actually. But
it was the Simpsons that taught me that flammable and inflammable mean the same thing. I honestly thought that one meant no, you can't. No, it doesn't go on fire.
It's like enervated. You think, oh, that must be energized. No, I was told. My dad told me this. He says, "You see the back of that gas truck? See, it says flammable." He said they used to say inflammable, but people thought it meant it wouldn't blow up, so they had to change. They had to make up a new way of saying it can be inflamed. And they just call it flammable. My dad was a professor, in case you didn't know.
It's not a rash, it's a bomb on wheels. Be really clear about this.
It's not inflamed. So long, Airport Extreme and Airport Express, they are now officially obsolete. I don't think Apple will ever make routers ever again. You think?
No.
I don't think they will either. Although it is such a perfect thing for them to make because it's still routers are still kind of a mess. between the need to keep them ultimately secure, and also to support like the very, very latest versions of Wi-Fi to get the best speeds out of your latest Macs and iPhones and stuff like that, and also configuring things when you need to do port forwarding or make a connection from your inside network to the outside network. It's still either it works without any trouble whatsoever with one mouse click, or you're on a 2-week sleigh ride through every technical hell that you ever deal with. This is a problem that Apple could solve.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Apple could do something. I don't think they will, but I do think that this building a network where any device that you have is all kind of tied together, but it's also secure and it all just works, would be a huge opportunity for Apple. But I don't think they're going to go down that path. They just have a hard time concentrating on lots of things. So
indeed. Also obsolete, the trash can Mac or the Quaker Oats box Mac. Mac Pro.
It's got to be hard that you spend a bunch of time on designing of something and they call it the trash can. But
well, you knew
it was so pretty, but it was so broken in so many ways.
Yeah. God, and it was announced with such fanfare. I think didn't Phil say like, "Hey, I can't innovate my butt."
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks really nice, but it can't keep your chips cool, and it's impossible to upgrade. And nice try. Nice concept art, but
it worked for a while, but we had like 3 of them, I think, and
my first one failed.
Right, there was that.
So I sent it back, got a new one, and that worked okay. Yeah, but it was never felt that fast, did it?
Yeah, still Intel.
That's the problem. Boy, did you see the Lip Bhutan, the new CEO of Intel, says, it's kind of over.
Yeah. Laid off another 3,000 people.
He says we're no longer in the top 10 chip manufacturers.
Yeah.
Intel. Boy, Apple's looking pretty good at their decision to abandon Intel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's looking less than, wow, what a visionary, daring, forward thinking. No, they basically said, we can either go down the toilet with you, or we can decide to live. And I think that we're going to be living. Thank you very much. It's sad.
It's so sad. I can't wait till Thursday because I am going to immediately download Cyberpunk 2077 coming to Apple Silicon Macs on Thursday. This was the game a couple of years ago, even though its launch was very much marred by bugs and problems and so forth. But I think those are probably all ironed out. Oh, came out for 2025 years ago.
Yeah, you had to wait 5 years, but the bugs are probably out now. So
You're glad you waited.
And the mean 11-year-olds have probably moved on to another platform, so you're probably safe.
And they're all 16 now, so.
Right. 16 gigs of RAM required for anything. There are actually M1 and M2 Mac configurations with 8 gigs of RAM. Can you believe that?
I have them. I have a whole stack of them.
Well, you can run Zoom on it, right?
Yeah. We run. We can do up to 8 output, like 8 1080p outputs from an 8 gig Mac Mini.
And if you already own Cyberpunk 2077 on Steam, good news, you do not have to buy it again. Which is actually, I think I do own it. I'll have to check. Yeah.
I mean, it's good. It's not great that we have to wait 5 years for a very popular AAA game like this to come out. But it's not as though Mac is a really, really lucrative target. But there are times where AAA games would just not arrive on the Mac at all. And everyone's game is their first game. So we got to. I don't own a game console, but I've been really curious about Cyberpunk. I've been watching the game videos. The lighting is incredible.
It's a good game.
The world is pretty nice. It's almost up there with Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, it's kind of that style, first person shooter. Apple has 81 Emmy nominations. 81, which does not put it on the top. Netflix and HBO have more, but Severance and The Penguin leading the pack. This was earlier today. Severance is the early favorite in Best Drama. Golly, if it doesn't. Although HBO, The Pit, White Lotus, Andor, all nominated, as was The Diplomat, Last of Us, Slow Horses, and Paradise. Boy, those are some good movies. Good TV shows, I should say. Slow Horses is also Apple.
Slow Horses.
Yeah, loves Slow Horses. Diego Luna snubbed for Andor. That's kind of a surprise. I thought it was quite good in that. Noah Wiley, who is in The Pit.
The Pit is really good. If people haven't watched The Pit,
Great show.
it's a great show. It's not very Pittsburghy. As someone who came from Pittsburgh, they sell it as Pittsburgh, but no one has a Pittsburgh accent, which everybody there, if they're like, at least the folks that work, like not the doctors, but the nursing staff and everything else, they'd have some pretty thick accents that aren't there. And, they don't show any of Pittsburgh. Really.
Oh, you're from that area. That's right. You would know.
So it's kind of like, what's going on here? But what's really interesting about The Pit, number one, is they quote unquote save money by they really have one set, right? And or one large set, but they don't go anywhere.
Set. Yeah,
but it's like
ER.
I think they're doing like $6 million an episode, which is now inexpensive for these kind of things.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's really interesting when you watch The Pit is there's no music. Like there's no music. And my wife was like, I don't like it. There's no music. I'm like, no, I think you just feel like you're there. We're not adding anything to it. We're just having you feel like you're, part of it. And I think it's really good. It all happens in one day, over 15 hours or 15 episodes or 12 episodes, whatever it was. And 15. So it's just each is and the next hour, and it's super intense and definitely one of my favorite shows of the last year.
Yep. Noah Wile's been doing this for 26 years, never got an Emmy nomination. It's first. But here's a little piece of trivia. He played Steve Jobs in Pirates of Silicon Valley.
Yes, he did.
There you go, yeah.
Way back when.
Up against Anthony Michael Hall is Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Wow.
And John, what's his name? Bender from Futurama is Bulmer in that. Also John DiMaggio, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
1999 for that. So good on you, Noah.
TNT.
You finally, 26 years later, you get your first nomination.
I think when you look at these Emmys, though, I mean, whether it's, across the board, I think that you're seeing this inflation of what it takes to compete, in the sense that it's really, really high end stuff is the only stuff that people are really nominating, but also watching, because you're competing against, again, YouTube. If I'm going to fill time, I'm going to go to YouTube. If I want to watch something specific, I'm going to go and watch one of the. And so you have to spend a lot of money. But I think this is one of the challenges that Hollywood has right now. All the stuff in between isn't really moving the needle. Like it's not. And so you're seeing more and more money spent on less and less shows, because that's the only way you really get eyeballs.
Also, Best Actor nomination, not only for Noah Weil, but for Gary Oldman in Slow Horses.
Yay. So good.
Really good.
Man. Did you see the interview with him with Colbert? Oh my gosh, the Colbert interview. The long one, too. On location. It's so good.
He's trying to do a Graham Norton. It was kind of interesting. It was a total ripoff of the Graham Norton format. But in it, I thought the funniest thing was he talks about going into makeup, and his co-star in it, I can't remember her name, says, "You wear makeup for this show?" She said, "You could do it right now. You don't need to wear makeup." He looks a little seedy. I guess they have seedy makeup.
Yeah.
Gosh, I recommend that show though. It's
so good. Yeah.
The Studio, which is also an Apple TV production, the Seth Rogen comedy, 23 nominations.
Yeah, tied the record for the most nominations by a comedy. And the record is The Bear, which isn't a comedy. So technically, I guess.
I never understood why The Bear was.
It's because it's short, because it's a half hour, and that they decided when they say comedy, they really mean kind of half hour-ish. But yeah, so huge for the studio as well. I mean, Apple had the most nominated drama and comedy at the Emmys. They were third in total noms, but I mean, it's a real big deal for them.
Yeah, well, and I think that part of the studios getting so many nominations is the people in Hollywood who are voting for nominations get it.
They've all seen it.
They've all been there. They're like, it's all inside jokes that they get all the jokes, So I think that's part of why they got so many nominations.
Well, good on Apple. I think this is fairly important to the success of Apple TV, not because these nominations drive traffic, although I guess they do, but really what they drive is creatives. Creatives are looking for a place they can be and get and win awards. Is that right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's I think that right now if you actually can get work doing this right now, it's a great time because everyone on all these teams are really the best in the world at what they do. It's just hard. It's hard if you're not at that certain level. But so a lot of these shows just have an incredible amount of talent, both in front of the camera and behind the camera to do it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, little known actor Harrison Ford got his first Emmy nomination for Shrinking, for best supporting in a comedy.
Shrinking's good. He's good.
It's
Shrinking.
a good show and he's great in it. I mean, that's the thing is, Shrinking and Slow Horses got a bunch of major nominations.
He's a curmudgeon in it, which is nice to see him as being kind of a cranky old man.
Yeah. Brett Goldstein says that it's based on his dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and his dad was like, was your dad offended by that? And he said, no. I told my dad that Harrison Ford was playing him. He was fine with it.
It's a nice, dry kind of humor, and that's kind of I like it.
It's a great show. It really is.
Yeah. Good cast on that show.
But Severance, what a success story that is in its second season. It really, I think this is the consequence of it being on Apple TV Plus is that first season was a slow burn, right? Like not everybody had it, not everybody watched it, but over the course of the 2 years between seasons, I feel like lots of people saw Severance. And so when it came back, it was in the Nielsen ratings. It was one of the most streamed shows of the year. I think it was the fifth. I think there was a stat that's like the first half of this year was the fifth most streamed TV show on Apple TV Plus, which doesn't have a lot of viewers, and now it's got the most Emmy nominees at 27. So what an interesting kind of like build for it. But it if we didn't know, now we know for sure that it is it's on top. It's one of the top shows.
And there's a guy on our YouTube, Brian, who says they don't talk about how utterly silly the Emmy Awards are. I just want to say thank you to the Academy for the Emmy Awards. They're not silly. They're not.
Well, and I do think that Apple, when we talk about what Apple had to do, I mean, for Apple TV, I mean, they took on this, we're going to do the high end. We're only going to focus on high end. We're not going to try to do quantity. And we're really going to try to put everything into everything that we're making. And I think that if they got to this point 6 or 7 years in and they were not getting these kinds of Emmys, I think that they'd have to really rethink what they were doing. But it seemed to be going the right direction in that area.
Yeah. They are kind of in last place as a streaming network. I mean, they're not.
Yeah, but
it's already troubled if you're a streaming network. There only really is one, which is Netflix. Netflix and YouTube dominate TV viewing these days. So
yeah, I don't know. Again, it's part of a larger ecosystem. I don't know if they need it to be as big as everybody else. They're not trying to. And they've done real well with computers where they weren't the dominant,
Brian,
operating system.
It may be a mini Emmy, but it's an Emmy. Okay.
It's just as pointy as the big one.
It is actually. It's deadly.
It's very
and
pointy.
Mine broke. That's why it's so small because it fell off the shelf. But I kept it, even though it's a little messed up. We don't have any Vision Pro stories. I'm sorry.
No, not this time.
No.
Next time.
I just, all I'll say about the Vision Pro is that I flew across the country, and from the time they finished the announcements to the time that we stopped at the gate, I pretty much had the Vision Pro on the whole time. And if you're traveling a lot, man, what a great experience.
There's a weirdo
I loaded a whole bunch of movies. I'm just sitting there watching movies and doing stuff. It is just the way to travel.
Did the flight attendants offer you drinks, snacks, anything? Stay away from you?
I've learned now that I don't want to. I get a window seat, and I have my water and my stuff. Like I don't want to deal with the only stress about the Vision Pro is trying to wait for drinks or whatever. So I bring whatever I'm going to eat. Then I sit down and I put it on and I did the meditation thing, and I was like, oh, I got some time. I'll do 20 minutes of meditation. Then I fell asleep. It was like,
oh, perfect.
So it was, it just put me on. I mean, I'd never sleep on a flight, and so for me to fall asleep, it was useful. And so anyway, but just I know that can't be the only thing it can do, but man, as a frequent flyer, it's pretty
nice. Awesome. All right, let's take our final break, and then picks of the week coming up next. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. We're glad you're here today. Special thanks to our Club Twit members who make this show possible. 25% of our revenue now comes from the club. That's actually amazing and we started the club for that reason, because we saw advertising slipping during COVID, and we thought, wouldn't it be nice if the audience supported the show? That was always the dream. And I think we've made something pretty compelling. $10 a month gets you ad-free versions of all the shows, because I'm never the guy who's going to charge you and then show you ads too. So ad-free versions of all the shows. You get the access to the Club Twit Discord, which is a wonderful place to hang out. Plus all the special programming we do in the Discord. We've got a bunch of stuff. We did that last Friday. We did Chris Marquardt's Photo Time and our AI user group. Coming up this Friday, I feel like we have something this Friday. Stacy's Book Club is coming up. Micah's Crafting Corner, I think, is this week on Wednesday. So these are special events that are in the Club Twit Discord for club members only. If you can't be there live, you can watch after the fact. The Twit Plus feed is just for Club Twit members and has all that extra content on there. I think we've made it something pretty compelling, but more than anything else, the reason to join is it's a way of voting, of saying, yeah, I kind of like what you're doing, and I want you to keep doing it. So if you like the content here on Twit, that's the best way to support. Micah's Crafting Corner is tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific. It's the third Wednesday. He does Lego, but you can bring in any kind of cozy crafting project. We're going to have on Thursday, we're going to be interviewing somebody who can't be there for the live version of Intelligent Machines. Google Model's senior director. She is in charge of AI at Google, so that will be good. And then Richard Campbell on Friday is going to build his brand new PC. So I'll be kibitzing. I'll be doing the color while Richard builds the PC. So that's going to be fun. AI's user group, hands-on tech, Stacy's book club. We got a lot of stuff. I hope you will. And we're still doing This Is How You Lose the Time War, Jason, and you're still invited if you want to be there for that. Twit.tv/clubtwit. If you're not already a member, please consider supporting us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, club members. Our show today brought to you by CashFly. When I say brought to you by, I mean literally brought to you by CashFly. They're our content delivery network. For over 20 years, CashFly has held the track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery, serving over 5,000 companies in over 80 countries. We're one of them. At Twit, we've been using CashFly practically since we started, almost 20 years. We love their lag-free video loading, the hyper-fast downloads, the friction-free site interactions. I love it that we don't even have to think about it. You don't have to think about it. The shows just arrive without any fuss or trouble. CashFly's proof is in the petabytes. We actually deliver petabytes worth of content every month through CashFly. If you're doing video events, they can stream smoothly to millions of concurrent users worldwide with less than 1 second latency. Try that with any other service. Online games start 70% faster, scale instantly, play without lag, software downloads flawlessly. Great for when you're releasing something new or you're putting out patches and updates. HD video plays on demand with ultra-fast sub-second starts on every device. And you know that's important. People don't wait. And podcasts like ours reach global audiences in record speed at any scale. We love you, CashFly. CashFly delivers rich media content up to 158% faster than other major CDNs and allows you to shield your site content in their cloud, ensuring a 100% cache hit ratio. We do that. It's a miracle. And with CashFly's elite managed packages, you'll get the same VIP treatment we do. CashFly. It's like gaining an extension of your team. And when your entire business depends on delivering massive amounts of content like ours, you don't want to go it alone. We tried, believe me. No, terrible idea. You can't count on personalized help. If you're alone, you can with CashFly anytime. From a tenured expert who gets it, engineer to engineer 24/7. Just ask our engineer, Patrick. He'll tell you. He loves CashFly. Learn how you can get your first month free at cashfly.com/twit. That's CACHEFLY.com/twit. I did an interview, a podcast with CashFly founder Matt Levine, and I think it's going live. Let me just check. I think they sent me an email saying it's going live soon. Yeah, the Anycast episode July 10th, the trailer went out. July 17th, Thursday, the full episode. I will put a link everywhere on all my socials for it, because this is it was a great conversation. So Matt Levine and I, Cashfly, where is the link on that? They sent me all the information. They didn't send me a link. Okay, well, I think if you go to cashfly.com, you might find it. Cashfly. I say it every show. Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com/twit. And watch for me. I'll post it on all the socials. My interview with Matt Levine. He interviewed me, coming up on Thursday. All right, pick of the week time. Andy Anako, kick us off.
Mine is going to be familiar to a lot of people because it was been recommended by Doc Rock, been recommended by Allison Sheridan, but I just discovered it recently. It's blip.net. It is a direct device-to-device file transfer system, utility, whatever you want to call it, and it makes it just trivially easy to move any file from where it is to where you want it to be.
Like AirDrop.
Yeah, except instead of being limited to the Apple ecosystem, it works with my Android phone. It works with Windows. It works with Linux. It works with their clients for pretty much absolutely everything. And it's not like Dropbox or something or a cloud service where you're uploading it to a server, then it gets downloaded by that server. No, it will establish a connection. I've got the app installed on my Android phone, on my iPad, on my iPhone, and on my MacBook. And so just directly through the sharing sheet and pretty much any of these devices, if I want to send a PDF file from my Android phone to the MacBook, I just share it just through the sharing sheet, select my MacBook Pro, and then because it knows that these are all my personal devices, automatically, just like AirDrop, it just get a little box pops up, say, oh, by the way, I'm receiving a file from your phone, and then just puts it in the downloads folder. And it's all done directly, either through your Wi-Fi, if you're connected to the same Wi-Fi access port, or even if you're just both existing on the internet miles and miles away. You can share files between your devices and other people's devices if you know like what email address they're using to sign up for Blip for. It's super, super fast. It's very, very slick the way they've written all this software to make it as intuitive and as easy as possible. It never stutters. I've tested it with, normally I'm using it just for, I just want this file on my phone. But if you have like a 400 gigabyte backup file, it'll take a while to do it, but it will it'll chug it right along and just send it right from point A to point B in a very efficient manner. It's like I said, I was surprised that it worked as well as it did. I've seen a lot of tools that are kind of like this, but none that are done with this level of execution. The good news and the suspicious thing is that for an individual user, it's also free. They make their money by charging $25 a month for businesses to use it, or even more money if enterprise systems want to use it. And they also accept donations from individuals. The only downside of being an individual user instead of like a subscription user is that obviously you'll get community support, but you won't get direct support from Blip. You get not slower speeds, but they are. I think they are managing the speeds of all of its free users in one big pile, so that your speeds may vary if there's a lot of demand on the network. But once again, Blip does not host or provide web links to your files. Again, all it does is provide a conduit from the Blip app on the device that's sending and the Blip app on the device that's receiving, and again, I can't think of a bad thing about it. This is why I did a lot of searching for it, because I'm like, there must be some sort of a catch. And that's when I discovered that Doc Rock had recommended it. Allison Sheridan had recommended it, and she had introduced it to Adam Engst, who himself wrote a nice tribute to blip.net. So yeah, I've put it on absolutely everything, and it's just solved a very simple, frustrating pain point. Previously, if I needed to send something from my phone to my Mac or vice versa, I would wind up just basically creating a note in Google Keep or uploading it to Google Drive and then having to switch over, find it in Google Drive and download it. This is exactly the solution that I would have wanted. It's the sort of thing that I wish that it were a common protocol that just all machines just happen to support. The only drawback that I find with it is that I wish it supported Wi-Fi Direct like AirDrop does. So you do need to have you need to be on the same network. Excuse me. The two devices you're doing the transfer between both have to be able to access each other through the same network, whether it is you're connected to the same Wi-Fi base station or you're both just happen to be connected to the actual broadband. So that's kind of a bummer when like, oh God, AirDrop, I could be sending this like from one point to another just like on the train, the commuter train to Boston, but it will work. But I will have to use this as a hotspot and basically use that as a Wi-Fi network. Other than that, that's the only thing I can think of that I wish that they would improve. Like I said, simple, cheap as hell, and solves a major problem in a very, very nice way.
Nice. Blip.net to learn more. Alex Lindsay, pick of the week.
So, because I'm traveling, people often wonder, what do you do with your old Apple TV? I have an Apple TV that sits in my bag, or it sits in like every time I leave. And I just have to say, if you're not using it for this, you're crazy. If you're using Apple TV, I have all of my Apple TV settings, everything all ready to go. On that Apple TV, I kind of plug it in and make sure that it works. It's some old, I don't know, it's 2 generations old or something like that. And, and as you update it, having a travel Apple TV is just so great when you go to a rental house or rental, you're renting a house, you just walk in, unplug whatever they have plugged into that TV, you plug in your HDMI and you connect it to the Wi-Fi and you're back to you're back to your life. The life looks exactly the same as it did when you left the house. And I just think that, I think a lot of people underestimate the value of just having that, especially if you're going to be gone for a couple of days. And I have to admit, I use them in a lot of places. And so, but you can share your phone.
You probably can't use it in a hotel though, right?
You can. I have used it in a hotel, but not very often. But usually at any kind of rental house or anytime I'm traveling.
You need to know how to get on the Wi-Fi, basically.
Yeah,
is that right?
I feel like I've done it with
captive Wi-Fi. Maybe if you had a travel.
But what I usually what happens, I don't think about it because I will admit when I'm traveling by myself, I'm typically I have a Vision Pro, so that's what I'm watching it on. But when I want to watch it with other people, when my family's around or other things like that. And usually, I have to admit when I travel with my family, it's often like either Airbnb or some kind of house rental or something. So usually you short circuit all of the things that are trying to figure out how to use whatever they plugged in or whatever they thought was going to be useful. You just have the same thing that we have at home, and all the
last time
there. And
last time we did that, I entered all my accounts into that guy's system.
Yeah.
You don't have to remember before leaving to delete them all.
I don't have to think about any of that. I just plug it in. I just unplug whatever's there, plug it in, and call it a day. And so it's just such a great solution for travel. Especially with family or something like that. And again, part of it works. We talked about this before. Part of it works because the only thing that we ever use at home is an Apple TV.
Right.
So being able to so everything's there. What we last watched, all that stuff is all just active, and so you just
nice.
So if you're wondering what to do with your old Apple TV, I mean that's pretty good use for it.
Very cool. Mr. Jason Snell, that leaves you, my friend. Your pick of the week.
So it has come to me. This is a pick we've done before, but I've got a little timely reference.
I'm sad because I gave mine away.
Well, you could get a new one.
I guess.
Playdate from Panic. Which is this little teeny tiny game handheld thingy. It's got
teenage
buttons,
engineering design. Yes.
It's got a little crank on the side.
Yes.
And it's in stock. It was not in stock for a very long time. It's in stock at $229. The timely thing is they just finished season 2 of Playdate, which was they rolled out, I think it's 10 games over 5 weeks for $39. and there are some great games in there. I'll just point out they also have their own app store called Catalog that's got hundreds of games in it that are in every genre you can think of that are really good. There was Season 1, which was really great. And you can also sideload games from independent developers, and there are a bunch of those too. It's a black and white handheld with no backlight, so you got to play it outside. Summer, perfect time to play it outside or in a well-lit room. But the Season 2 games are great. And also, I just want to keep mentioning Playdate because a lot of people kind of poo-pooed it at the beginning because of its specs, which aren't the point. And because it was a new platform that doesn't have any history, and therefore, why would you spend boutique kind of levels of money for hardware that might have a questionable number of games? And the answer now, a few years in, is it's available. You can get it now, and there are hundreds of games you can buy for it. They're all cheap. We're also talking, these are like $5 games, $10 games. They're not $50 games. Yeah. And it's open so that you can sideload. You don't have to go through Panic Store. I can't say enough about it. If you love kind of retro consoles, this is not retro. It is new. It is its own platform, but it's a viable platform with lots and lots and lots of games. It's simple. It's fun. It's cute. And Season 2, really just a bang-up selection of games for Season 2.
What's your favorite?
Fulcrum Defender, which is this kind of use the crank to aim, and you're like in the center of a base, and the crank turns your little aim around, and you have to fire because the various spaceships are coming at you from all sides, and you get upgrades as you go, and it's a roguelike, so you get a different path with different upgrades every time. There are Dig Dino, which is like a super chill game where you dig down into the dirt and find dinosaur bones and garbage. There's so many different kinds of game for this, so I definitely if you haven't thought of it in a while, check it out.
I mean, they're black and white, but they're really aesthetically kind of intriguing.
Yeah, I have to piggyback on Jason's recommendation. This is the only game console I've ever bought, and I bought it basically because of Panic's reputation, and also I had a suspicion that it would attract really talented and weird game designers,
it did.
Yeah, exactly. They're beautiful because the part of the fun is just that it's not like, okay, here's another Space Invaders. Okay, here's another Pokemon sort of game, even though there are some games like that. It's like just someone will have this most bizarre idea for a game, and it's the most creative thing you've ever thought of, and it's designed to run for 90 minutes to play this game from start to finish, but you feel as though you've been interacting with a piece of art for that amount of time. And like Jason said, it's easy for a gamer like me who doesn't want to spend hours and hours and hours playing an in-depth game. I just want something that will entertain me for 10 to 30 minutes at a time, ideally while I'm waiting for my commuter train or something like that. It's tiny, it's pocketable. The display is not backlit, but it is super, super, super high contrast. And if there is any light in the room, it's going to be playable, although like you said, you want some light in the room. You might balk at the price. I bought it when it was only $189. Then the price has gone up a couple times since then. It's $229. But it's for people who are thrown off by the idea of Xbox gaming. They don't want to be retro gaming stuff that hasn't moved forward since 1980s or the 1990s. This will give you pretty much, it'll scratch the itch that you're looking for.
Yeah, and this is Panic's own platform, so they're still adding features to it. They just added network support for gaming, so up to now it's all been very self-contained, but now there will be a new wave of games that will allow you to play, if you have a friend with a Playdate, play over the network. So there'll be more, but it is definitely, it's a throwback, but it's also just a very different sort of thing. And I guess what I would say is, if you or somebody looked at the Playdate and said, but why would you spend money on that? It doesn't have color, it doesn't have backlight, it doesn't have Mario, it doesn't have old emulation. What's the point of it? I would say the specs are total. You've missed the point of it. The point is, this is a beautiful object full of weird indie games and it's I am glad it exists in the world, and it is very entertaining, and you can just stick it in your pocket because it's super tiny. I'm glad it exists. If you care about specs and stuff, this is not the product for you. Get something else.
I'd say it's like an independent movie theater where it's like, oh, it doesn't have THX. Oh, well, it doesn't have like 4K digital projection. Like, we don't go to this theater for like the 81 channel surround and the butt thumper reactions. We get it because of the programming that they put into this theater that you really can't get as a universe anywhere else.
Well, that's a great recommendation, and those are great picks, and that's the end of the show. Thank you all for being here. Andy Anako's website is
still
live. Still
almost,
not live.
almost. I have to. I'm all I have to right now are like the three things that you see like at the very, very top that explain like why I'm doing this and why you should probably click some links and read some stuff.
Awesome.
But yeah, we're terrifyingly imminent, I shall say. It's like, oh, so now I get to see how people react to this stuff.
Nice.
That's going to be really great. I'm happy about that.
Alex Lindsay is at officehours.global. On YouTube, it's youtube.com/officehoursglobal. Anything you want to plug?
It turns out if you come in the morning, 7 a.m., we answer questions. So
that's fascinating.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. What a concept.
We should be.
I always send people there if they have questions, especially about production, audio, that kind of thing.
It's
a great resource.
It's a pretty good collection of people. Yep. Seem to know a couple things, so it's good. I'm glad to be around
Thank you,
them.
Alex. I hope you enjoy your vacation. When do you come home?
I get home over the weekend. So
Golden Beach is waiting for you. Get out there.
Absolutely.
Enjoy it. Thank you, Mr. Jason Snell. It's at Jason is at sixcolors.com.
Right.
End of July, you're going to have to get back into the graphing. Apple has announced that's its quarterly results will be at the end of the month.
I got to get some chart action going and working on beta coverage for whenever there's a public beta, whenever that happens.
Yeah, any minute now, I hope. I thought we'd have it by today, but I guess not. You can also see a list of all his shows. He does so many good podcasts at sixcolors.com/Jason. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Leo. One
of the best, if not the best, in the Jason Snell business.
Yeah, top Jason.
The number one
the best Jason Snell.
We do MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. I say that because we do actually stream it live. You can watch live. Our audio even works. It's amazing. If you're in the club, of course, watching the Discord. But everybody else you can watch on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show, audio and video available at our website, twit.tv/MBW. You'll also find a link there to our YouTube channel. Great way to share clips with friends and help us promote the show. Of course, probably the best thing to do is to subscribe either to the audio or the video feed or both if you want in your favorite podcast app, whether it's Apple's or Overcast or Pocket Cast, whatever. If you do us a favor, though, leave us a good 5-star review. Let the world know about the number one Vision Pro show in the world, MacBreak Weekly, even though we had no Vision Pro this week. But we did talk about it, though. That's good. That's thanks to you, Alex. We talked about it.
We had to. You got to keep the stake in the ground. That's all. You're going to say a couple things.
We
don't want to lose our title. Yeah.
Yes,
we want to continue to wave. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. And now it is my sad and solemn duty to tell you, get back to work, because break time is over. Bye-bye.
Over.
Bye-bye.
Get your tech news exactly how you want it with twit.tv. Tech News Weekly with Micah Sargent delivers quick hit coverage and exclusive journalist interviews, giving you the inside scoop on breaking tech stories in under an hour. Now, for deeper dives, I hope you'll join me, Leo Laporte, and a great panel of tech industry experts. That's every Sunday with This Week in Tech. We'll break down everything from AI breakthroughs to privacy concerns to cybersecurity alerts in the tech world's longest-running and most trusted tech news roundtable. So, efficient or in-depth, the choice is yours. Subscribe to both shows wherever you get your podcasts, and head on over to our website, twit.tv, for even more independent tech journalism.